Nathan, thank you for doing this.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Appreciate it. So I begin every podcast with a single question. Where were you born?
I was born in Amarillo, Texas, out in good old West Texas, famous for our big steaks and Cadillacs in the ground. And it's meth.
Wait. Cadillacs on the ground. So
Yes.
you can't just go over something like that. What does that mean?
So out there's like an art installation where some millionaire just had a bunch of Cadillacs laying around and he decided, let's bury them. Let's stick them halfway through the ground. And he lined, I believe, like 5 of them out on the outskirts of Amarillo. And you can just go and it's free. You can go and graffiti all over the cars. Each one is up to whoever, really. It's pretty cool.
And do they paint it at any time to give people, like, do they reset it so like you can come and just do fresh ink on it? Or
I was wondering the
do they
same
just keep
thing.
add on top?
I have no idea, honestly. From what I've seen, it's just layers on layer on layer. I've never thought about it like people resetting it. I know in 2020 they blacked it out for like the political stuff going on, and so if anything, that was a hard reset there.
So was it like a homage to BLM or something?
Yeah.
They were just kind of standing with them in a sense.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. Yeah, it was like a we're with you kind of thing, and so that's kind of cool.
Got it.
But
So you growing up in Amarillo, how old are you? I'm sorry.
I'm 26 years old,
So-
almost 27. Yeah.
So all of your life in Amarillo, or at some point moving around?
Yeah, so I lived there from born and raised up until I turned 20. And then after that, my family and I, we sold everything. We quit our jobs, and then we moved to Europe for like 6 months. And we came back, and then now we're in DFW. And so I've been here for about 6 years.
So what caused the Europe? Was it a vacation, or was it meant to be like we're moving to Europe?
It was like, hey, life kind of sucks. Let's just quit everything and go enjoy life. Like we sold our house and like our cars and stuff, and we just went and lived for a little bit just to kind of, I guess, to give us a little hard reset, you know. But that was cool.
Where did you guys go in Europe?
The first 3 months we lived in Spain because we speak Spanish. So we figured that would be like the easiest kind of way to like adjust to their lifestyle over there. So the first 3 months was all Madrid, and we just kind of lived and like visited like neighboring cities, like the big touristy kind of spots. And then after that, we moved to Italy. And that was like the remaining 3 months. And that was really cool.
What part in Italy?
Oh, it's called, it's Cortana.
Cortana.
Yeah, Cortana. It's where
Okay.
that movie with, I think it's Diane Keaton or someone that's like the Tuscany sun, Under the Tuscan Sun. That's what it is. When she goes and resets her own life. My mom wanted to make sure that we lived in that town because that's where she went. And yeah.
Was that part of living there because your mom had seen that film with Diane Keaton and wanted to live, like, I guess, was the film inspiration for her in some way?
I don't know, actually. I should have asked her that. Probably. I wouldn't be surprised. I know my mom got to study abroad in Spain when she was younger, and so that's always been like one of her dreams is to go back. And so that was just kind of like our way to do it all together.
And are your parents, so you said you guys speak Spanish, are your parents also from Texas, or were they from somewhere else and they moved to Texas?
So my parents are from Mexico. They're both from Mexico, and then they both moved to Amarillo, and then they met there, and then here we are.
What part of Mexico?
Oof. I can't. My mom is from Sinaloa, which is where El Chapo was from.
Right.
So she's dangerous. And then my dad is from, I believe, Chihuahua.
So you're connected. Chihuahua also has some sort of a cartel presence there, if I'm not mistaken.
Does it? So yeah.
I think.
I'm supposed to be Mexican, but I don't know much about Mexico, man. I feel bad.
There's like a family business we don't know about yet, huh?
Yeah, that could be, man. I don't go there enough. But yeah, man, it's cool.
So that was, your parents met in Mexico, or they met here?
They met here.
They met
Yeah,
here,
they met
and they
here.
both were like in Amarillo.
Yeah, so it's like super
interesting.
small, or I guess small world, but yeah, just a small city in Amarillo, or in Texas.
Okay.
But,
And siblings, or
yes, I have one younger brother. Same thing, born in Amarillo, then we all moved there. He is 4 years younger than me, and yeah, love that guy.
what does
Shout
he
out.
do?
He is doing his own real estate thing right now. He's crazy, man. I don't know. I've always been more into like the arts kind of side of things, and then he was like, "Nah, fuck that. I'm going to real estate. I'm gonna go make money."
And was comedy always your forte and business his forte, or was it a different side of the artistic or creative things that you started first with and then ventured into comedy?
I guess I've always been kind of like into like the creative like arts kind of thing. Like growing up, I was in band, like I was in saxophone, all throughout high school and college. And then Nick, he was more into sports and like just hanging out with friends and stuff like that. So it's always kind of been, I guess, kind of our paths at the same time.
To clarify, Nick is your younger brother.
Oh yes, sorry.
I
Yeah.
just wanted to make sure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that makes sense. And you played band, saxophone.
Mm-hmm.
How was that? Like, was there like a path that you were thinking of someday going into like the opera or an orchestra or like making it a career, or was it just enjoyment?
So funny enough, it all started because of a girl.
Always does.
Always does, man. I was in 5th grade, and this girl that I had a huge crush on, she was telling me that she was going to play the saxophone next year. And I was like, what are the odds? I am too. And I auditioned for the saxophone. I got it. I told her, and she was like, I'm actually going to play the clarinet. So that derailed my whole plot. But I ended up sticking with saxophone. I ended up loving it. It's where I met all my friends in like junior high and stuff. And eventually, I think one of my dreams was to be like one of the guys playing like music for movies and stuff like that, like in the soundtracks and stuff when it's big and dramatic.
Or like a Hans Zimmer kind of a person making
Yeah.
just like those beautiful soundtracks that like for Gladiator and all these other films, Batman and all the stuff he's worked on.
Exactly, man. I wanted to be part of like that band or that orchestra.
Did you ever think you might fall into composing the music yourself?
See, I wanted to, man, but that like creating something is just so mind blowing to me, man. Like, I couldn't do it. Like, I tried doing it here and there, but it wasn't for me. I was just more of like performance and just give me the sheet music and I'll make it happen. But yeah.
So writing it was not the forte.
No, but I have huge respect for people that can do that. Just creating anything out of thin air. It's insane, man.
So do I, because you look at compositions, and for me, it's the same thing as looking at a foreign language, which kind of makes you think like, yeah, first they learned, which is musical notes, is a language in and of itself. And then somewhere along the line, they were like, but I can do it better.
Dude, yeah,
And
exactly.
they composed great works that we all appreciate.
No, yeah, exactly. It's like I just watched Air, that movie about like the whole Air Jordan thing.
How was it? It's on my list. I haven't gotten to it yet. It's the Matt Damon one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
how was that?
It's pretty good. It's cool because like it's funny at times because it's like they're showing like that there's an issue that they might not get Michael Jordan, but it's like we already know what happens. You know what I mean? It's Air Jordan for a reason, you know. And but it's really cool. They show you kind of like Nike's like rules for their like employees, and one of them is oh shoot, I just went blank. Oh, like you're remembered for the rules you break. And so I was thinking like, because in music there's rules, you know what I mean? Like especially in the beginning, but then there's people that break those rules and create even more better sounding music. You know what I mean?
And that's kind of like the genesis of jazz music, right? Because it broke almost all the rules. It didn't have cadence, and it didn't follow the way music is supposed to kind of. There's a flow to it, and it was almost the anti-flow.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, man.
Did you play jazz saxophone, or what was your saxophone kind of like? What was the music that really you fell in love with?
I like the fast beat, kind of like classical things. One of my favorite pieces that I played was like a Spanish kind of fast ballad. But I don't know why I hated jazz. I didn't like
Really?
it. Yeah, I couldn't do it. I didn't like listening to it at the time. To be honest, I think it sprung from like, there was an older kid in my class who, all he played was jazz, and he played it super loud, super loud. And so I think I got kind of like annoyed at jazz at that point.
This is high school or junior high?
This is in high school.
High school. Okay.
Yeah. He was a great player, but he was loud, and so I think it just got to me there. And I think it's funny because I hate jazz, and I really don't like musicals, but I love La La Land, the movie.
I have not seen it.
Really?
I have
See
not.
it.
Yeah, like, and nothing against musicals. I like musicals. Like, I watched Rent when it was on TV, and I've watched. I've been to the Phantom of the Opera, and I've been to other like, music inspired kind of. I know the opera is a different genre, but I have been to also musicals too, and it's always been on my list. I just don't get around to it. I don't know why.
Yeah, man, it's good.
And I love both the actors. They're Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling, right? Yeah, they're both amazing in it.
It's
from
really
what
cool,
I've
man.
heard.
I can't remember his name's like Damien Chazelle or something like that.
Yes.
Yeah. I still got to watch Babylon, but I recommend it, man. Watch it, especially we're out here chasing this podcast dream and this comedy dream. It's a movie for dreamers, man. I like it.
So
It's really cool.
when did the transition go from saxophone and that creative world into trying other things and then possibly eventually comedy, or how did we get into comedy?
I don't know. I guess I've always really liked comedy, and I always liked making jokes with like my friends and stuff. Um, I don't really know. Honestly, I stopped playing saxophone a few years back, and
Was it always just for fun that you were playing, or was there like work that was involved, like getting paid gigs or trying? Because I know a lot of musicians, just like a lot of comedians, will work for free forever, but I just don't know how it works in the classical genres. I'm more like, you know, a rapper or a rock band, pop music, you know, struggling forever until you get there. I don't know how like these very structured kind of, you know what I mean? Like an orchestra is very structured. There's a group of people that have to follow a lot of rules for it to work cohesively.
I think I was kind of like lazy in that aspect of like, I kind of realized that I wouldn't go too far with saxophone if I didn't like jazz. And so I was just like, whatever, man, I'll just put this aside and then go pursue a real degree. I think that's where it started. I changed because I went to college for music performance, and then I decided to change to business, which was it's fun, I guess. But I don't know, man. I think it was just the fact that I quit saxophone and I kind of missed doing something for fun, and I've always really liked comedy, and I don't know. I think one day just kind of I told myself that I really wanted to do it. Like I gave myself a whole year. I turned 25, and I was like, I'm gonna try comedy before I turn 26. And I literally, like 3 days before my 26th birthday, I went up to some little dinky bar in Denton. I tried their open mic, and then here we are now, 10 months later.
Was that what made you get up the first time? Kind of like setting that goal of within 1 year, I need to be on the stage?
Yeah, and I don't know, not to get like sad or nothing. I lost a family member like in that year, and like that kind of made me realize that like life is short. Like you never know what's gonna happen, and so I was like, let's just go live life. Let's just go try out this adventure, and if we fail, we fail. If not, we had fun doing it.
So, who was a family member?
She was it was a cousin and my aunt. We lost him to a drunk driver, so don't do that if you're watching. But yeah, that happened around Christmas time, and so I was like, okay, it's time to like live life and, you know, like enjoy it while we can, I guess.
I mean, my condolences, and I'm sorry for your loss.
Oh yeah, thank you.
But it seems like maybe that was like a little bit of a push.
Oh yeah.
Like, okay, don't waste the time that you have because you don't have any control over it. That's the one thing that sucks about like a thing like that, where a person passes away or persons pass away without any real cause. It's just like a drunk driver.
Exactly.
And you're just like, you had no way of doing anything to mitigate that.
Exactly, man. It's just kind of, it just puts it in all perspective. It's just kind of like, it makes you more grateful to like just be alive, even if we're kind of stuck in a shitty job or something. It's like, hey, you know what? We're here, you know, let's make the most of it while we're here. But yeah, it definitely pushed me a little bit.
Okay. Sorry to get sad on you, but yeah.
Oh no, I'm the one who brought it up. I'm sorry if anything.
I think it's important to bring it up because part of this is your journey. And there's always going to be, I feel like there's going to be an underlying theme. I've only done, you'll be episode 7, but so far there's like 80% have some sort of traumatic experience, or a ton of them that have kind of shaped them into the comedians that they are. Okay. And I feel like yours is no different. There's like, this happened and it made you really like push yourself into like, okay, I got to try it. Why not?
Yeah. And I've always, every time I like listen to other like comedians on like their podcasts and stuff, that's what they talk about is like trauma. Like that's what shapes comics and stuff like that. And to be honest, I kind of get like a little bit of imposter syndrome with that, because growing up, my childhood was fine. It's just that happened, and that's what kind of pushed me, you know.
I wouldn't go down the path of having imposter syndrome, because there are others that are really good comedians. A couple of people that I've actually had the pleasure of sitting down and speaking to, who don't have. I think the problem that we may find is that you're looking for a specific traumatic event that didn't happen to you, like the shitty childhood or the abuse of a parent or the lack of a parent. And that doesn't mean you don't have your version of traumatic events that kind of shaped you to be who you are. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I know why you, I mean, at least I can guess why you might think you have imposter syndrome. But I think you probably have imposter syndrome because you're funny. And you're like, why am I funny?
I guess.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
You don't need the trauma that horrifying to be really funny. And you're probably going like, but why am I funny then?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, maybe you just are.
I
Cool.
guess
Why not? You know, you get to be funny.
I guess I feel bad. I'm more so being like, I guess it's not like there's like a checklist. It's like, did you have trauma growing up? All right, well then you can't be a comic. Sorry, man. You know, I guess it's just, I don't know. I always hear about that and I feel bad, or I don't know. It's silly, but I get what you're saying. I bet.
I think like one of the famous examples of that, Chris D'Elia,
Mm-hmm.
current comedian who's humongous, but he speaks about it openly. He's like, I had a great childhood. He's like, nothing shitty happened to me. Like, nobody tried to do this, nobody did that. I was like, it's cool.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe there's like other things that he's not willing to share that did occur that are equally as traumatic for him. Like, the worst day of your life is the worst day of your life.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's
and
true.
it's not my quote, it's somebody else's quote, and it makes a lot of sense. It's like, no matter how you look at it, I can't compare the worst day of my life to yours. It's equally as bad because it's from your point of view.
Right. That's true, yeah. Dang. I always think of the Simpsons movie when, like, Homer Simpson, when you'd say, like, this is the worst day of my life, and he'd come in and be like, the worst day of your life so far, you know? Like,
Yeah.
it's going to be okay, you know?
I think there's like a quote from a movie. A lot of people don't know it. It was called Pool Hall Junkies. I don't know if you've ever seen it.
Mm-mm.
Nothing major. It was fun. It was a good movie. I liked it. But there's this one line in there that says, every day is a good day. Try missing one once.
Mm. Okay.
You know, like, it's trying to tell you, like, the day you can't wake up is the day you die. So, like, every day that you're alive is a good day. It's kind of like the approach to it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, like, that is the... I'm losing my train of thought here.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's kind of like what I was getting to, is where, you know, you can have different outlooks on the way life is, kind of what cards you're dealt.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, you still have a life, right? It's
Right.
better than not having it. It's kind of what made you go up on stage, is two people that you cared about no longer being there.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, no, exactly, man. It's crazy, and I haven't looked back since. I loved it. It's only been 10 months. It's crazy, but ever since I started, it's been great.
Do you remember the first joke?
The first
that
joke.
Place in Denton that you were talking about?
Yeah, I do, yeah. I talked about being Mexican. I said, what did I say?
Which is great because, like, you know, when a person looks at you, you don't look Mexican in the traditional sense, right? Like, so because you have lighter complexion and Nathan is your first name. So, there's this whole fun aspect to that. I get it. It's cool.
Exactly, yeah. That's what I talked about being Mexican, and that's what it is that I said. I know I don't look like it, but trust me, like, I'm a great swimmer. Like, super racist. And I was saying, like, I promise you that's true. When I was, like, years ago, I entered a swimming competition with 1,000 competitors, and I won. I said 9 months later, I was born. And that was my first joke that I went up there. And I remember just seeing this guy on the table being like,
but that's
just
fun.
Bombed, dude. It was.
I don't know why you bombed, because that, like, it's maybe okay. Here's another thing that other comedians always talk about is it's the timing that's also important. And I really doubt, like, the first time on a stage, you know how to time and deliver the punchline.
Right.
Because, like, the way you did it now, we both got a good chuckle out of it, right? Because there's a funny aspect to it. The swimming is really funny. And then saying you were born 9 months later just makes it 10 times funnier. I think that's a killer joke.
Thank you. No, yeah. Yeah, the 4 people, it was like a tiny, tiny crowd, and the 4 people there did not think so. And probably exactly like a delivery and stuff like that. And I'm horrible at public speaking. Like, even when I played saxophone, I tied all back, I would get super shaky. I would hate playing in front of people. And then when I would do speeches in classes, I was the same exact thing. And so I was probably nervous as hell, just up there shaking like crazy. And I don't know, man. But
so you had a fear of public speaking, but you still got up on stage and then continued afterward. What made you, even though you say you bombed, what made you want to continue?
I got one chuckle. I got one laugh, and I was like, all right, I can do this. Like, I got one guy to laugh. I was like, okay, I can just keep on trying. And it's weird. It's like, I like being good at whatever it is that I'm doing. You know what I mean? So it's like, when I tried comedy, I've always liked making jokes, and I have like this weird little feeling like I'm going to be okay at this, you know?
Okay.
And so I just told myself, like, I'm not going to try it one time, have a bad set. Not like I'm going to at least keep trying until, like, I feel comfortable. And I'm still chasing that. But I don't know. It's been, just that one laugh. It got me.
I mean, you got more than one laugh the other night when I got to see you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Granted, it was a Wednesday night, and I think Wednesday night is just, you're working out. You know, it's not prime time. You know, none of us are the Friday night crowd where you've paid a lot of money to be there, or you've planned, like, blocked out. It's a Wednesday night. You've got, like, some stragglers, and you've got comedians and people like me that were just, like, from randomly out of trying to find someone for a podcast. But, like, you got laughs. And I remember, I think we even talked about the joke you did, and I won't say it not to ruin it because I know you're still working on it, but I was like, dude, there's a lot there. Like, dig into it and see what you find. Because it was funny, and I was like, okay, I hope he has time to continue.
Is it the real estate one, right? Or was it?
Yeah, the list.
Okay. Yes. Yeah, the list. Okay. Yeah.
Dude, I still think about it and chuckle.
Okay.
I was just like, that shit's funny.
Yeah, man, that's one of the new ones that I was like, okay, I'm trying to iron it out, man. Every time I go somewhere, it's just exactly like you said. It's like there's something there, but just I don't know, man. It's fun.
I think that's the whole point of a Wednesday night, man. You're just there to work it out. Like,
yeah,
do I get a chuckle from the 4 random people that are still sitting here?
Yeah.
Because it like ended up being that. It was just like 6 heads there, not counting the comedians. There was more comedians than there was actual people. And one dude was just a dick, by the way.
Really?
Yeah, he just kept messing with everybody. I don't know if he eventually left or something, but like he was louder than the comedians at one point, and I was like, dude, shut up. Like, fucking leave people alone. They're working shit out.
No, yeah, man. And I remember this Wednesday night, that was like my first actual time performing at Hyena. So I was nervous, man, and I rushed through my set. I'm trying to think, was he towards the back or where?
So if you're staged looking at the crowd, it would be to your left towards the back.
Okay.
You know who I'm talking about? It was like this one dude.
Colorful
and he was
shirt.
I think so. He was like an older guy, if I'm not mistaken. And he was just like, he thought he was funnier than the people there. And at some point, if it wasn't rude, I was going to be like, dude, why don't you get up on the stage and see if you can make us laugh, please?
Right, exactly. There's always something like that here and there.
And because there was some killers in that crowd. You know, there was a couple of really good comedians that I love and love seeing them perform, and a couple of them that are scheduled to come on the podcast. And the ones that weren't killing that I still found were funny were like the ones that I can genuinely tell there's a spark of inspiration and there's something there. So to that, where does the spark come from?
Ooh. Like as in like when I write jokes or
so
like
how is your what is your process for coming up with material, or how do you write jokes? What is what is Nathan's way of going from nothing to I can probably try this out tonight?
I guess it really depends. Like lately I'm glad that I'm still so like new because I'm kind of figuring stuff out. Like if I'm having a conversation with friends and then a joke comes up, I'll think, oh, like could that be a bit? Like how could I make this a bit? Or some of my jokes are based off of billboards that I saw on the way to work, and I was like, oh, hey, that's funny. Like maybe I'll write something about that. I tried doing the whole, let me type this out on Word and see if I can think of something. Oh, sorry, I hit the mic.
No, you're good.
But that didn't work. I realized that like it's better just to either talk it out with a friend, or if I'm sitting home alone, just nothing to do, I'll walk around and I'll just kind of talk to it about it like myself. And yeah.
So like talking about it with a friend, is it usually a comedian friend?
Yes.
So like, I don't know, do you and Chandler kind of like hang out and do things like that?
We try to. So Chandler and we all live in the same like area, so we carpool a lot.
By the way, shout out to Valencia. He kind of turned me on to you. That's why I came out Wednesday night. He's like, dude, Nathan's going to be there. Come check him out. And a couple other people. It's like, I'm there.
Oh, awesome, man.
So like, thanks, Chandler.
Yeah, thank you, Chandler. Appreciate you, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, him, Kenny Coas. Kenny Coas is who I think would, him and I, we hang out a lot, and he's who him and I riff off a lot. Like,
is your style similar? Is that why? Or are you polar opposites?
I think our style is kind of similar. I do a little more like stuff about like race and like wordplay. He does a little more of like the kind of, I don't know if I should like, not shock humor, but it's kind of like just like weird left field kind of stuff.
Dark or?
Not too dark, but it's flirting with that line.
Okay.
Like, no, I won't say one of his jokes, but yeah, but I like him a lot.
You have the right to or not to. I don't know if I would ever try. So you guys just kind of like, you might be driving down, I don't know, whatever, one of the freeways here, and then you see a billboard for something, and you're like, okay, there's funny in this.
Yeah. Like we'll talk about one. Like I drive down 35 every day.
Okay.
And I look up and I saw a billboard with Smokey the Bear on it, except he was like ripped. And I was like,
I've seen that one.
That's weird. Yeah, I was like,
I've seen that one.
when did he get hot? You know, and so like, I made a whole bit off of that. Like, and I want people to see that and be like, oh shit, like, is that what that guy saw? Or like, you know, like something every day to be like, that's what he was talking about.
Yeah, because Smokey's roided out.
Yeah, he's huge.
He looks like he's been hanging out with that Liver King dude.
Exactly, man. Yeah.
That's definitely okay.
Mm.
So that kind of stuff kind of inspires you a little bit, and then you try to kind of work things out and to yourself, to a friend. How long does it usually take? Let's say Yogi. How long would it take from only you can prevent forest fires to something on the stage that you're going to mess with?
Yeah. Wow. With Smokey, with him, he was one of those. I just bought a whiteboard, and I was like, I'm going to use it. And I was just like writing down everything that I thought of when it came to bear related, like Build-A-Bear, or eating honey, or like fighting forest fires. Maybe that's how he got ribbed. And I was just trying to think of anything bear related, and I was like, how can I tie this into being hot? What is he? Like, just little things like that. And so I think that one took a couple months because I was trying to like riff on why he got buff. And then I was trying to riff on what would happen if he found you like leaving a wildfire, and none of that worked. And so it's just kind of like playing with different little options. But yeah, I was trying to tell you like,
no, that I can kind of, I'm imagining you just like standing in a room with a whiteboard, and for some reason it says Smokey the Bear, hot, and then there's like a line down the middle of trying to figure out where the funny is. I just, that mental projection was hilarious.
That's
to me.
exactly it, man. And I look like a crazy person, man. I look like Charlie Day, and when he's got all that build with that stuff next to him. But yeah, man.
You remember? Have you seen The Big Bang Theory?
I've seen some of them.
So like in a few episodes, Sheldon goes all out crazy, and there's like whiteboards all over the apartment. I just kind of imagine stuff like that, just like huge whiteboards with like,
dude, if I had a huge
jokes
whiteboard,
that you're working on.
That's the toughest part, is when I think of a new and I have to erase the other things. I'm like, damn it, man. Like, if I could have a huge whiteboard, oh man, I would love it, dude.
You know, you can paint a wall, right?
Yeah, I live in an apartment right now, and I don't really want to mess with it too much. But I'm about to move to a house, so
Okay.
maybe there. I'm excited, man.
But how did that come about?
What's
so
that?
outside of comedy, do you work? Do you do stuff? I don't know.
Yeah. I just
what do you do? I just like whiteboards and just like all day Sharpies.
I just look at whiteboards all day. No, I work. I'm in marketing right now. I work for a little marketing firm. I work for my dad.
Okay.
And then
what kind of marketing do you guys do?
We do a lot of. So if a Hispanic business wants to get it into more of like the general market or vice versa, we help them kind of cross that bridge to where like we can either translate their website, translate their products, or like just build them a whole new website, and I kind of help them market more towards a broader audience. And so I'm pretty much a glorified graphic designer right now. I do a lot of website building and a lot of graphic designing, and yeah, it's cool.
Seems interesting.
Yeah, it's fun. Kind of going back to it all, like creating stuff, like designing little artworks and stuff. Sometimes I feel like I wish I didn't do it, because I want to bring that creative energy to comedy, you know what I mean? And even if it is just like designing a social media post, a lot of thought goes into that. And so it's like, I don't know, lately with comedy, with my job and all that, it's like I've gotten a lot more like respect for artists, like in just that whole kind of side of the world, I guess. But yeah.
Are you thinking that because you're putting so much time into the graphic design world that like some of your creative energy is being depleted? Is that what your thought is?
Sometimes, yeah.
Or is it just being tired?
It's being tired.
All right.
Because there's been times at work where I'm supposed to be working, but then I think of like a joke, and I have a notebook at work to where I can jot down like little quick joke ideas, and then I hope none of my coworkers find it, because there's some bad stuff in there, but mainly it's just laziness.
So, to that effect, is there stuff that you come up with that you feel like is not you, or is just too far off the deep end that you kind of don't use and just put into like that notebook where it stays? Like the Smokey go too far? Is there like a love entanglement that happens?
No, nothing like that. I think the farthest that one went is like the way to kill a fire is if you cut off oxygen supply.
Yeah.
And so I was like, that's what we're gonna do to you kids if you don't like. We're gonna cut off your oxygen supply. And that was like the darkest thing that I said with that, and it never got laughs or nothing. So I was like, all right, moving on, you know. And so I think that's the funnest thing, is like with like stand up.
Where have you tried that?
Ooh, I don't know. Like a
'Cause
couple random mics, because it's
all DFW.
not all DFW. Maybe
No.
just 2 or 3. I gave it like 2 or 3 chances, and I'm like, if it doesn't work the third, then no.
Because I feel like that's the type of joke that might kill in the coast.
On the coast, oh, because over there they actually deal with that stuff, or
It's just New York, especially. Like my wife and I love New York, so when we go, we try to check out comedy clubs. And Gotham is one of my favorite spots in New York City. You'll see a lot darker humor in New York, in Chicago, in Los Angeles than you will in Dallas. I specifically remember the night you were performing. There was another guy. He went into incest stuff.
oh, okay,
You don't do that in Dallas.
Yeah.
Sorry.
yeah.
Wrong crowd.
So you're talking about Oklahoma or something.
Not even, no.
Sorry.
I mean, but like you do, I know where you're coming from with that. Like, but you do that in the West Coast because people have that stupid ideology of people from the South or the deep South and all. And some of it may be true, but like for them, it's funny because they need reaffirmation to think that this is real.
Right.
But here where we live, we're just like, no, sorry, dude. No.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
the
no.
crowd. I'm sorry, I'm rambling, but like I feel like
Oh, don't be sorry.
there's jokes that you can do here
Mm-hmm.
that'll murder, that will never work on the West Coast
Right.
or on the East Coast. You know,
That's
like there's a
cool.
lot of comedians that know conservative stuff and like, you know, how to tap into kind of like Christian jokes, let's say. Where on the West Coast, they'll just be like, but we don't understand what that means.
Oh, okay.
Because they're so out of touch with certain things and so in touch with other things. It's just know your audience, I guess.
Oh, makes sense. You go to New York a lot?
I did a lot more prior to the pandemic. I haven't gone as much as I'd like to post-pandemic because a lot of things changed in our life. We moved to Texas and just kind of like restarting everything. Been twice since. Doesn't have the same feeling it used to.
Really?
Something's really changed about New York City for me.
Oh, wow.
And it's unfortunate because it was my favorite place on earth.
Would you move there?
Up until the pandemic, I'll be honest with you, it was a thought my wife and I had of the ultimate goal was to move to New York, live in Manhattan with our kids. Now that goal is when they go to college, we can move to Manhattan and live there and enjoy our life. But we don't want to raise our kids there.
So has it gotten like gone for the worse in that case? Oh, really?
It's just gotten way worse.
Oh, wow. Dang.
And if you're an adult, it's fine. It's just I don't want to expose kids to
if you have
things
kids.
like that.
Yeah, no, especially at their age too. Makes sense.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, love New York City. Have you been?
Been once. I really want to go back.
It's an awesome place. And if you can kind of like put together a 5-minute set and get a bunch of your buddies together that are comedians and go do like a week there and try to do open mics, you'll get a feel for a completely different crowd.
Really?
Very,
Oh, that's
very
cool.
different crowds in New York.
Dang.
And because they're like Chicago, New York, and Los Angeles will forever go down and Boston as the kind of like the birthplaces of some of the greatest comedians and some of the best comedy clubs. So like their barometer for funny is much higher.
Right.
So if you get a
quality.
laugh here, you may not over there. And Austin's quickly becoming like the fourth hub
Right.
because
Yeah, man.
so much talent moved over there. It's you can't deny it.
Oh yeah, especially with old Joe Rogan and like all those other big comics moving there, like Tom, Christina, like all those guys. And it's crazy, man. And it's weird to think that it's just like right there too. But
Which is that's kind of an interesting thing of like if you're a comedian in Dallas, you have this unique opportunity before you go into the shark den, which is Austin now, because like you said, everybody's there. You can work out here, and if you start killing here, you'll murder in Austin. I promise you that. Harder crowds here. Austin crowd is more liberal, more young, and they're open to comedy because they're exposed to a ton of it on a regular basis. Here, it's a treat. If you think about it, it's a treat when a big comedian comes through Dallas.
yeah, really. I'm excited. I get to go see Dave Attell here in a couple, or maybe in a week, I think. I can't wait for that, man.
I love Dave Attell.
I'm surprised.
He's like Mount Rushmore level of comedian because he's just the best.
Mm-hmm.
His I don't care attitude about it is the best part about Dave Attell.
Yeah,
He'll
man.
stand there, couldn't give less of a shit what you think about him. He's just going to read his jokes and leave.
Exactly, man. And that's what I want to see him when he started. I'm sure if I dig enough into like YouTube and stuff, I'll find some clips. But like I want to see like the big comics when they first started. You know what I mean? Like I think that'd be a cool deep dive.
I mean, so I've seen Robin Williams like really old stuff, like 80s maybe, when he's working out in San Francisco and like, you know, full head of hair and like this is really young Robin Williams, like your age Robin Williams. So like,
oh wow,
it exists. You can find all the old works of your favorite comedians. They're out there.
That's awesome.
Is there a comedian that inspired you to kind of pursue comedy?
Ooh, I think the first comic that I saw, like ever, was Dane Cook. I saw him on TV. My cousin loved him, so we watched it. I didn't think much of it. I just thought he was a funny guy. And then my first special that I actually like chose to watch was Aziz Ansari, and I liked him a lot. I watched all three of his. It was like Buried Alive, and I can't think of the other ones. I think the one that pushed me the most though was Mark Normand, because with him he's just some quiet dude who has funny jokes and he just says one line at a time. He's not this big energetic guy, and I was like, so if someone like that can do it, then maybe there's a niche for it. You know what I mean? And I don't know. I've always thought of comedy as like I'm loud, this is funny, wow, energy, you know, and I'm not like that at all.
Are you familiar with Stephen Wright?
No, I'm getting into him now, like this whole airplane bit and all that stuff.
So Stephen Wright will go down as one of my favorite comedians of all time. Mm-hmm. He's the king of one-liners. Mm-hmm. And my favorite one line of his, and everybody's got their own, but my favorite one line is, he says, I came home drunk once. And this is like probably mid-'80s or 90s when he did this joke. Mm-hmm. And he says, I came home drunk one time, and I put my car keys into my house, so I drove it around the block a few times, and then a cop pulled me over. I can't do it any justice. It's so old that I don't think he would mind that I butchered his joke. But Mark Normand and like Stephen Wright, and there's so few of them that can do exactly what you just said. Be very kind of like calm and almost even reserved in the way they deliver their joke. Mm-hmm. But it's undeniable how funny it is because of the way they are.
Yeah, exactly, man. I know with Steven, what he said was like his jokes had to have like logic. Like if they didn't have logic within the jokes, like he wouldn't say it. And so those are my favorite comics to where like you have to listen. And
yes.
And I try to do that sometimes with my jokes. It's like you have to like listen, and then I stop talking. They're like, wait, what did he say? And then it's like, oh, that's what the joke is. And I don't know. Those are my favorite kinds.
So for you, right now, who's your favorite? And I know it's a hard thing to say, but
no, right now I would say Mark Normand. Honestly, I got to see him at the Addison Improv one time, and I got a picture with him. I don't know, man. He's
hilarious.
He's hilarious.
There's no denying him. But like, so favorite. But like beyond him, is there others that kind of inspire you, or you're like? Because I know, just like any other creative thing, it takes time to get your own voice. So a lot of us begin just like, even me as just trying to do a podcast. There's a ton of people that are inspiration to what I'm doing. Eventually, it will be more mine and more my voice, and it'll just be unique to me. But right now, I can almost see some of the things that I'm copying from others, but trying to put my own flair on it. Do you see that in kind of the comedy world? Because you're 10 months into it.
I would say, yeah, like a lot of my, so Mark, he's like an inspiration. Other than that, I would say like Tony Hinchcliffe. I got to see him live, and he was mind-blowing, dude. It's like, I like how he's mean, he roasts, and like the jokes that he says are good. They're not just dark. They're not to take you out of nowhere, like I can't believe he said that. It's just like, it's dark and it's funny, And
Where'd you see Tony?
The Addison Improv as well. Yeah, that one's becoming one of my favorite clubs.
So there's only two clubs that I go to when I'm trying to check out talent: Hyenas and Addison Improv. I don't know if I've never been to Dallas Comedy Club, and I know there's the Fort Worth Hyenas, and there's a bunch of little places, but I feel like those are the two big main clubs in Dallas area. Am I wrong?
The Dallas area, yeah, I would say, no, I'd say you're right. Like Hyenas and the Addison Improv. There is the Comedy Arena out in McKinney. They have a really big open mic on Monday nights. If you're looking for talent, that place is always jam-packed. Fort Worth Hyenas, honestly, it's really good as well. Like, I really like a lot of the Fort Worth comics, but because like I'm usually in Dallas, that's where that laziness comes in, and I don't really want to drive to Fort Worth. But Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I don't know. So I try to do a few comedians that are open micers,
Mm-hmm.
and then a few comedians that are a couple of years into it.
Mm-hmm.
So like Cheyenne was my first guest, and he's been doing it for I think 6 or 7 years now. And
Mm-hmm.
so I like the reason I like that is because I get completely different perspectives.
Oh, okay.
Like my last guest, Derek Cakeley, he's been doing it for a lot longer than everybody else. So like a seasoned vet versus open micers versus people that are not headlining yet, but that are hosting or that are kind of like the number 2 or the number 3 of a headliner. So I want to keep a mix because I think at some point, just hoping somebody will watch this and be like, I want to be a comedian and like kind of have a roadmap, a blueprint of like things to try and the way other people get inspiration and what their story is.
Oh yeah, no, exactly. I think that's honestly, it's really cool to see that. Like Derek, I think I saw that he's over like 10 years in now, right?
I think 13 or something. Yeah,
Oh,
he's
wow.
many years into it. Yeah.
So exactly, man. That's awesome.
And Derek's an interesting guy because like he's already in his 40s and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So he's had a life outside of comedy longer than he has had one in comedy. You know what I mean? Like he's had an adult life longer outside of comedy than in comedy.
Mm.
And it's interesting to get his perspective on things because he comes from a completely different side of the world.
Right. Yeah, I think it's the same with. So he started like when he was in his 30s in that case, or.
I think so. Yeah, because
Yeah.
he's in like his mid 40s now.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, it's the same with I think Rodney Dangerfield. I know he started real late into his life, and I think stuff like that. I think it's just cool. It's just what makes you. You know what I mean? It's what gives you your voice and like all those experiences you've had leading up to it.
Which is so interesting to me, the guys that start in their 30s versus the guys that start in their like late teens, early 20s. Because like when you're 18 to whatever 20 something, the responsibilities aren't the same.
Mm-hmm.
When you're in your 30s and your 40s, it's different.
Right.
But like to be out there doing open mics and like hustling like everybody else, it's very interesting to me. Like how come that call is that yearning for trying something is so big that you do it in your 40s and stuff.
Right. I wonder if it's just like that drive.
Yeah.
Of like you're just tired of life or something. It's just like I need something new or who knows, man.
It's interesting. I don't know.
Exactly.
It's just one of those things that like you contemplate once in a while. Like,
Yeah.
what makes a guy in their 30s? Because I'm in my late 30s,
Mm-hmm.
and I just barely started a podcast. So like I think of the same thing to myself. I'm like, why? Why do you do this?
Do you have an answer?
Of all of the things that I've done in my life outside of my family, nothing has made me happier.
Smart. I'm glad you put in the family in there.
They
can't hold you back.
Because the thing is, I feel like I preface that because a lot of people will be like, what a dick, he didn't say his family first. But like, when are people going to understand, like, your family is supposed to be sacred.
Right.
It's never supposed to even be in the damn conversation.
Mm-hmm.
There isn't my family first and then this second and then this third. No, they don't even need to be on a list ever. That's the way I look at my family. They are never on a list for me because they're sacred.
Right.
I don't put sacred things on a list.
Ooh, okay.
So for me, the thing that's made me the happiest is this.
Nice.
Because I get to do something that I didn't know I would love, but I really like it. Like if I don't get more followers or nothing happens with this, I'll continue to do this because I just really like it.
Nice, man.
It's fun for me.
Mm. And
And I feel like maybe that's the inspiration for someone in their 30s like myself to go and get on that stage, although I would never do that.
Really? You ever tried it?
I've never tried it. I even took a class on like how to learn how to write a joke and stand up. So I lived in California for a long time, and
Oh, wow.
I lived really close to a place called Flappers Comedy Club in Burbank.
Flappers. I think I've heard people talking about that.
It's famous. It's been there forever. Flappers is a famous comedy club. Big names work out there. Like Jay Leno will pop in all the time.
Oh, wow.
Seinfeld pops in all the time because they just kind of live in the vicinity, and they maybe don't want to drive. Because here in Dallas, we don't know what traffic actually is.
Really?
People in LA will tell you what real traffic looks like.
Oh, man.
Because here, okay, if you're going from doesn't matter where to doesn't matter where, traffic adds 15 minutes usually.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Yeah.
Usually.
Right.
In LA, doesn't matter where you're going, traffic adds hours.
Really?
Genuinely.
No way.
Genuinely. Traveling 20 to 30 miles could add an hour to your drive. Easily.
Jesus.
We don't know what that is here.
Yeah,
It doesn't exist. We have traffic, but nothing as bad as that, honestly.
Dang, man.
So
I did not know that.
Flappers was like this local place in Burbank, which is just like a suburb of LA. And really famous people would drop in to work there because Burbank also had a bunch of the movie studios back then, and they shot like late night shows and stuff all in that area. So kind of like the history of Burbank for those that don't know. That's why Flappers comedy is famous, because people would like go to the Tonight Show with Jay Leno and then just pop into Flappers at some point to do a set because they're just like so close.
It's like right there.
Yeah, they don't want to go all the way down to the Comedy Store because it's Friday and it's really busy to get there.
Okay.
That was it. So
I
it
see.
became a convenience thing. So I took a class there because they were like doing a beginner's open mic, blah, blah, blah. I never actually went out on the stage. I just was curious more of the process, but I've always been interested, but maybe more of as this type of a thing. I'd like to just kind of sit down, talk to you guys, get to know what you're all about, and that's more interesting to me than being on that stage.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's
I feel
cool.
like everybody should figure out what they're good at.
Yeah, that's cool,
I don't know
man.
if I'm good at this, but I'll try.
Hey, man, you're doing it. And honestly, I'm honored to be the first person on the new set, by the way.
Yeah, congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
You are the first person on this set. Everybody else was kind of in an office environment. It actually was. It was an office in my old house. So
Nice.
this is more of a studio setup.
Yeah, I like it a lot, man. You got the whole wall of fame here, too.
Yeah, so people won't see it in this episode, unfortunately, because my third camera is not working. But I promise by episode 8, you'll be able to see the studio, but I've also posted on Instagram. What Nathan's talking about is an homage to some of my favorite comedians, and there's 6 of them on that list. It's Louis Black, Eddie Izzard, Robin Williams, George Carlin, Stephen Wright, and Eddie Murphy. They are some of my favorite.
It's a great wall. Seriously, man, it's cool. And then you got all the cool books too. But seriously, yeah. Thank you for having me on the new set, man.
Yeah, no, I was scrambling to get everything done today because I was like, I have a person coming in and I wanted the sound to be good and everything. So in the last couple of days, I had my audio engineer come and do a whole sound check with me. That's why he made me put up all the panels and everything so it sounds better. And then my podcast producer came in yesterday and framed up all the cameras for me. And that's when we figured out that the lens on my third camera was not working properly. So it'll be replaced tomorrow.
What's your producer's name?
Her name is Reagan.
Reagan? Thank you, thank you, Reagan. And what about the audio producer?
So audio producer is Corey Park. Thank you, Corey. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
I did a shout out to both of them on IG yesterday when I took a picture of this. But yeah, they played a big role in this sounding good and it looking good.
Yeah,
and
seriously.
I like this part of it, sitting down and talking, but when it comes down to the technical aspect of it, I've never been good at that stuff.
Dude, same.
I can't frame a camera or get audio to work properly to save my life.
Yeah,
even though I understand all of it, I just don't have the hearing. Like even Corey was here yesterday, sitting down, and he's like, "You hear that echo? You hear that echo?" I'm like, "I can't. I can't discern it." And he would do things to make it sound better. And he's like, "You see the difference?" I'm like, "No," but I'm like, for the one guy that might listen that has your ear, I want him not to have that problem or her not to have that problem.
Oh, exactly.
I guess that's like, I don't know. That's why I wanted to have the two people that the audio and the producing of the actual frames to be good because I want it to look good.
You want it to look good, exactly. This is your other baby.
Yeah, very much so. This is like baby number 4.
No, yeah, man. Stuff like this. It's crazy. Like, I don't think people realize like podcasting isn't just buy a microphone, buy a laptop, good to go. It's like there's so much to it, man. It's literally just like you were just describing all that stuff. And
so I mean, it doesn't have to be so hard because I know phones have gotten so advanced that you can shoot a podcast on an iPhone, no problem, without audio and stuff. You could do it, but if you want to, it's not just a thing that I'm throwing together just to do. It's a hobby. It's a passion. I love all of this stuff. Like I love buying the lights and setting it all up and kind of looking at the camera and like, oh, this looks cool to me. Because for a good 2 weeks, I would come into this room dead empty, nothing in it. And I just couldn't figure out how to do it. I couldn't figure out how I wanted the layout to look. And it wasn't until I thought about putting these pictures, because I remembered most comedy clubs that you walk into usually have pictures like this, headshots of the comedians on the wall, it kind of had that, and I was like, okay, this is a starting point, and then it all threw itself together right after that. But it was weird. It took me 2 weeks to kind of figure out what I wanted to do with it.
Nice, man.
I was like looking at a blank canvas, going like, I have no idea.
Hey, man. Well, just so you know, it looks great.
I need whiteboards like
this. Yeah, man.
All right.
Yeah,
Instead of hot bear, it's like good looking studio, bad looking studio, and you just like start putting shit down.
Exactly, man.
Back to that point. So, first time on stage, dinky place in Denton, and how long does that go on until you do like a couple of minutes, or you have a few minutes of material? Because I know in the beginning, it's usually like open mics will give you like a minute, 2 minutes, maybe. Right? It's like you got to figure out how much you can do and what you have going on.
Yeah, the first place, I feel bad. I called it Dinky, but I do like it. It's a shout out to Bearded Monk. It's a nice little brewery in Denton.
See, and if you never mentioned it, would have never known. But thanks, Bearded
let's just
Monk.
bleep that. Never mind. Okay. No, yeah, but when I got there, I wanted to make sure that I had like at least like maybe 5 jokes or like 6 jokes written out that I wanted to go up on stage, and they gave me 5 minutes, and I did maybe 3, if anything. And I don't know. I remember I asked one comic there. I was like, "Hey, that was my first time. Like, do you have any notes? Like, blah blah blah." And he said, "Just fill out your time as much as you can, and talk louder." That has been like everyone that talks to me is like, "You need to talk louder. You need to project more." And I'm trying, man, but it's tough. But it took me maybe like a couple weeks to get like an actual 5 minutes, and even then, it was just scraping the barrel with anything I could think of. But yeah.
Of that original 5 minutes, is anything still around, or has anything progressed and actually part of a 5 minute has become its own 5 minute because you've been able to kind of like dig into it and expand upon a topic?
I have one joke about like having getting 2 black eyes, and that one was one of my first ones. And
is that a real joke? Like, did it actually happen to you?
No.
No. Because that's a whole. I wanted to ask about that.
Oh, okay. Really? Yeah. No. That's all. It was a joke, and that's one of my favorite jokes. Like, I remember when I thought of that, I was like, okay, I'm gonna keep this one, and I've loved it ever since. That's one of my jokes that I like telling. But yeah,
So what's the joke?
It's
you can't just like, come on.
I didn't know
unless you want to save it
for
something. So I don't care. It's up to you. It's your kind of your art. You can choose to express it and share it or not. It's really up to you.
No, I'll say it. It's just I say that I'm learning that things that happen to you as a kid, they do affect you in the future. So I'd say that I got into one fight, and that one fight left me with 2 black eyes, and ever since then, like, I can't stop looking at thick white bitches, and that's it. It's so stupid, and it's like, I don't know, man. I like saying it just to see like the reactions, and like, I don't know, man. A lot of my stuff is kind of racy, and I like that, and some people might not. But.
It took me a minute to actually connect the dots, but when I did, I instantly. No, it's good. No. It's fucking hilarious, dude.
I love those like head shaking
that's an
jokes.
awesome opener or something. You know what I mean? Like growing up as a kid, and you go into that, and you're like, that would be hilarious.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
No, that's cool. And does that, you think that's going to expand into something else, or is that kind of just like a one-liner, or is that is that what the kind of comedy that you're going for, like the Mark Dorman, Stephen Wright thing, like one-liners that don't necessarily have to kind of tie into each other?
Sometimes, like, one-liners are hard. That's
I agree.
That's one of those where if you're gonna do one-liners, you have to do one-liners like a lot. That one I'm trying to build upon to where like I don't want to like, I guess I'm trying to scare the crowd to where like I say I get chased by chickens. Now I hate chickens. And then I fell down a ladder. Now I hate heights. And then I say I get jumped by 2 black dudes. And so I like to think that the crowd's like, oh my God, he's going to say he hates black people. But I'm like, no, now I can't stop looking at the white bitches. And so like, I like to scare the crowd a little bit. And I want to like learn how to like expand on more stuff, especially as time goes. On Wednesday, I was supposed to do 10 minutes, but I only did like 8, and I credit that because I thought I had I rehearsed that in my room multiple times, and I thought I had more time, and I ended up speaking too fast, and I guess I just kind of went through it all. And so if anything, that just kind of reiterated to like expand my jokes. And if I'm going to do one-liners, then I have to have a lot more. I don't know if that answered your question or not. I don't know, but kind of went on a tangent there.
No. It completely answered the question. You're still kind of working out the way you want to assemble your 5 minutes and then into a 10, 30, and an hour eventually when you've just got that much material.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
That's fun.
So it could be a mix of one-liners and some stories and things like that. Because what I feel like is a lot of comedians, they'll go into what will become a narrative. It's really funny. You love the entire thing, but there's a narrative behind the entire thing. Like Eddie does that, right? Because if you've seen Delirious or Raw, there's an entire theme behind the entirety of his set has a theme. Whereas a lot of other comedians, actually a lack of comedians nowadays, have multiple themes that just don't have a cohesive story behind it. They're just kind of like jumping around and making a lot of different funny things. It exists, but like less of.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So on that point, exactly like that, I tried making it like one continuous kind of story. Like I kind of built it off. This joke has to go after this joke, because then it's going to kind of build up to this joke. And then on Wednesday night, when I realized that like I did my whole set and I didn't have anything afterwards and I still had time to fill, that's when I kind of like, I panicked. I was like, oh, like I can't really base it off of one continuous long thing unless I have this thing like down, you know what I mean? And so I'm kind of learning from that.
And I think maybe you've got the 10 minutes, but you were maybe in your bedroom or when you're practicing waiting for a laugh to maybe extend 2 or 3 seconds more than it would. And I think it was there in a bigger crowd. It's just you didn't have the big crowd that night. It's unfortunate, but groupthink is a big dynamic of it.
Yeah.
That's why like you can notice and I always ask to sit in the back because I want to be with the comedians. I like their ambiance is more fun.
Those are the critics right there.
And I know like they would all laugh. I would laugh with them a lot louder than everybody else. It's not that everybody was murdering to that effect, but it was like we recognize that there's a lot of funny here. And if you laugh loud enough, you get people to kind of like get into the group think of let's laugh together.
Right.
And kind of get the crowd going. You know what I mean? Like if someone like starts slapping their hands together and a wave forms at a baseball game, it's kind of like that whole dynamic.
Exactly.
So in a bigger crowd, I think it would have probably gotten the reaction you wanted at the times that you wanted. Hopefully. And the 10 minutes would have been filled.
Yeah, man. And that's what's demoralizing sometimes is you'll say the same jokes in front of different crowds, and sometimes those jokes will land and sometimes they just get silenced and you're like, oh damn, like is this joke garbage after all? Or I don't know, man. And
I think it happens to the best comedians though. It doesn't matter who you are. I think it's the aura of the room too. There's like a vibe. You know, I don't know how to explain it, but like when you walk into a comedy club, you get a vibe from the crowd that's there. Like if you walk into a comedy club 10 minutes before it's about to start and it's loud, that's a cool vibe.
Right.
People are excited to be there. They're talking. They're enjoying themselves. But if you walk in and it's all murmurs and stuff and you're like, it's just like, it's not there.
Right. Exactly.
And a lot of times the opener can get it up there or the second act or something, but sometimes they fall short. Sometimes you just get a shitty crowd, dude. I've been to so many clubs where you're just sitting there and you're watching and you're like, you guys are like, it's almost they're being deliberately dicks.
Yeah, like they don't want to, they're not going to make me laugh.
Like kind of like, it's funny. They know it's inherently funny, but like as a group, they're just like, let's be an asshole. Let's see what happens tonight.
Oh, man.
I've seen that like firsthand and I'm like, what are you doing? And it's been like really funny people. I won't name who they are. And it's like stuff from, I've seen them work it out. And I know that other crowds have died laughing, like, you know, chuckles to the point you're like, oh my God, stop. But here it's not working because you just got a bunch of assholes.
Right.
At some point, you got to chuck it up to that, dude. Like if people have laughed before and these people don't, maybe it's these people. But if nobody's ever laughed before, then probably your joke's shitty. You know what I mean?
You got to change the joke a little bit. Yeah. No, exactly.
I think it's the same thing with this. It's like if nobody ends up watching it and nobody cares, then you're doing something wrong, dude.
Yeah. You got to learn from it. I think that's one thing is how someone takes criticism. Like that's what like makes or break people.
I think the best of anything is people that have been able to take criticism and use it as fuel to better themselves versus fuel to deepen their sorrow and hate.
No, exactly. When I was studying graphic design, I had this art teacher who never gave me criticism, man. And it was one of those weird kind of lessons where that's where I realized like how important criticism is. Like I wanted him to tell me like, hey, you're doing this wrong, or hey, you're doing this right, you know. but he never did. And ever since then, I've always thought of him like, I've realized how important feedback is, you know, even if it's negative. Like, that's how we learn.
Do you think the current climate of colleges and universities are in a state that people are afraid to give criticism because they think it might be turned against them?
Maybe. I think a lot of people are just like afraid of conflict in general. And I think there's like a nice way of giving criticism, you know what I mean? Like, as long as you're not like a dick and just being like, no, you're shit at what you do.
Which is sad because proper conflict is necessary for a fulfilled life, in my opinion.
Right. Yeah, no.
Because if you avoid conflict your entire life, then you've never lived a life worth living.
Right. Oh,
At some point, you're going to piss somebody off. I have. I'm sure you have. It's got to happen.
Oh, yeah. Trust me. Yeah. I think it's like, it actually kind of strengthens friendships too, man. Like, if you can overcome a fight and you're like, that just shows that you want it. You know what I mean? It's not just nothing.
Real friendships are based upon being able to call each other out on our worst. And even being able to verbally just cuss each other out and not talk for a day or two. But real friends are the ones that will calm down and be like, dude, he was right.
Right.
I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
And you'll call him and be like, sorry, dude, I fucked up.
Exactly.
And that's normal.
Exactly. We're all human.
Because you've grown.
next time that conflict happens, you know, you and your buddy can cuss each other out and just get really angry and then figure out which one of you was the moron in that situation. But it's the same thing as, like, I think warriors that practice before the war. It's mental toughness. Like, you screw up less, right? Because now you've got somebody that will call you out.
No, exactly, man.
And I think you've probably found that with a few of your friends in the comedy world. That'll tell you, hey, but this is dog shit. Don't even try.
Yeah. If you get called a hack, like, that's my biggest fear, is getting called a hack. And so thankfully Kenny, he's like, no, that's hacky, dude. Don't do that joke. And I'm like, all right, thank you, man.
You know what's hacky? And I don't care who says anything about this now.
What is it?
Stop doing COVID jokes.
COVID jokes.
So sick and tired of this bullshit, dude.
And Trump impressions.
I've left the comedy club because of that shit.
Really? Yeah.
Enough.
Yeah.
Seriously, enough, dude. Like, it does not exist at all in anybody's radar except for a few people that give a shit.
Right.
Talk to them.
Yeah. Do you think a COVID joke would do better here or New York?
It would do better in New York.
Because over there it impacted them hard, right? Like,
it still is. That's the problem. It still is, because the ramification of 2 years of putting people on a leash, essentially, is going to take a long time to recover from. Because, alcoholism went up by like 1,000%, and
probably
drug use went up by like God knows what percent, and
some crazy number.
None of these things have calmed down. But the world is saying, hey, let's get back to normal. Dude. So people are clinging to this whole, no, why don't we still have a pandemic? Because it was awesome. I got to sit in my ass at my house. Amazon dropped off alcohol and food, and I chilled.
Right.
People love that shit.
I was jealous, man. My life did not change at all during COVID. Honestly, I was an essential. An essential employee?
Essential worker, yeah.
I was an essential worker.
What'd you do?
I was a bank teller. Yeah. I worked at. No, it doesn't matter what bank.
Plus, you were in Texas, right?
Oh yeah.
The COVID stopped 3 months after it started for you folks.
It was real done. It was.
For the rest of us that were in the coastal states, West Coast and East Coast especially, dude, we dealt with that forever.
Yeah,
I mean, I visit LA once in a while. People still wear masks.
Yeah, really?
I'm dumbfounded.
Yeah.
Sitting in a car by yourself wearing a mask.
Oh, yeah. I would hear like horror stories. I would hear stories of like people just yelling at you for not wearing a mask, even if you're outside, and blah, blah, blah. Like,
you know how many times I've gotten yelled at in California because I didn't have a mask on? And I was
first
outside walking with my kids.
And people would yell.
This isn't like 2020, dude. This is already like 2021. Excuse me. Where we have enough information to know that, like, if you're outside, you're good.
Right.
You're fine, dude. Like, you're almost impossible to transmit if you're outside.
Like, it's not as scary as we think anymore. Like, we have a better grasp on it now at that point.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because it was like, remember tail end of 2020, they started to kind of like ease up on it because they wanted Christmas sales and stuff to happen. And then really quickly in 2021, they realized they got spikes and stuff, which really didn't mean much of anything. It was just spikes that were going to happen because it was the holidays and people mingled.
And they saw that coming too. They were forecasting it like crazy.
Yeah. But they kind of changed the rules at that point because they were like, look, if you're outside, because like outdoor dining became normal in California and it wasn't for a long time. They're like 6 feet apart, yada, yada, have fun. If you're doing a party outside, it could be more than 6 people now together. So the rules had significantly eased up. We were still in like draconian bullshit rules, but still.
Right.
All the time, dude. Like you're walking outside in the suburbs. It's not even like I'm not in Highland Park downtown, like Highland Park Village where there's like 1,000 people or something. You're in like a suburb. Like you can be in Denton or Louisville, whatever you want to, pick your suburb. And you're just walking around the block with your kids because you can't stay in the house anymore.
Yeah, you got to do something. Yeah.
It's been 10 months. Enough.
Right.
Even though during the 10 months, I didn't stay inside. I was part of the essential worker crew, just like you were. And I never had a day off during COVID. Didn't want to. But it was hilarious because for the first time in my entire life, there was no traffic in California.
Dude, that must have been amazing.
Driving anywhere was 15 minutes.
Wow.
It was a dream come true for those of us that had to work for those 2 years in California. No traffic to speak of. Like, you get off of whatever you're doing at 5 o'clock, you're home at 5:20, which would take 2.5 hours, let's say, if it's Friday. You're like, oh, cool. I still have a life.
And that's it's like sad to say, but
But
sometimes
you guys
it's
never
like,
dealt with that, which is, I was interested in that because you were here during the whole thing. How was COVID, even as an essential worker? Like, how long after the whole COVID stuff started that Texas kind of went back to being, or Dallas went back to being Dallas?
See, I was in Denton for
Close
during
enough.
the beginning, and that's like a small college town. I do think of UNC as like pretty liberal.
Were you in school at the time?
Yes, but the thing is, I was only taking online classes because of my schedule.
Okay.
So literally, my day-to-day life didn't change at all, other than I had to wear a mask when I went to like grocery stores or anything like that. And I still have like a paper from the bank that I worked at. It said, because I didn't know what to expect, and it says, this person is an essential employee. He is scheduled to work 40 hours a week, like in case I got pulled over by the cops for being outside or something like that. And it was like signed and everything. It was crazy. But I think I remember it was kind of strict for a little bit, but I think when we got that freeze here, that first freeze, and then
I remember that. Everybody was talking about it for like a week. You guys had no power, no water.
Yeah.
There was like a lot of stuff going bad.
Yeah, I think that kind of like melted over those kind of guidelines of like, hey, you know what, this is a even bigger, more now kind of problem. And then, not to get political, but like the whole BLM
Why
thing
not?
too, like those protests were happening, so people were in the parks marching alongside with everybody with the masks, and I think it's just kind of like other things happened in like that day, and it was just kind of like, fuck it, let's just focus on this now instead of COVID. It's been 10 months, who cares?
I mean, to the effect of BLM, I remember when the protests were happening, and I think it was the middle of the pandemic too, or like the beginning of the pandemic, and I drove through Beverly Hills, and that's the equivalent of the Park Cities for Los Angeles, like very high end, high end shops and all this stuff.
Is that where Rodeo is?
Exactly.
Okay.
Rodeo Drive is there, the Beverly Hills Hotel,
The Comedy
pretty much
Store.
like, well, Comedy Store isn't technically Beverly Hills. It's West Hollywood, I think,
Okay.
which is also a very nice, affluent, but new money versus old money. Think of it that way.
Okay.
Okay? So,
Gotcha.
like, I'm sure there's the Texas equivalent for it, or Dallas equivalent, which I'm not sure what it is yet.
Honestly, yeah, here the area where you live is kind of, you go down one block, whole different thing. Like, I was amazed by driving where you are. Not to give. By the way, his address is.
Yeah, right.
Sorry, but continue on.
No. So, yeah, Park Cities, for anybody that cares. I don't care. Nobody will ever find me. I'm not big enough. Plus, I have guns. Fuck off. This is
You
Texas.
heard it here, folks.
This is Texas, dude. My son. and I went to classes and got training and learned the proper stuff. And my wife took classes. So, like,
that's awesome.
You know, whatever. Like,
Yeah, no, it makes you feel safe. It's good.
It does.
Yeah.
So I'm not worried about that at all. But when I went down to Beverly Hills the day that they kind of locked everything down, and it was so sad that I couldn't take a photograph of it, but it was all of these beautiful hotels and high-end shops were boarded up because all the glass was broken.
Yep.
There was police everywhere. It almost looked like when they show stuff of the Ukraine now.
Oh, wow.
It kind of looked like that. It looked like the post-war zone where it's like shit was blown up and they just covered up with wooden planks and there's police everywhere. And it's not like the regular cops. They've got ARs and stuff. They're in SWAT uniforms.
Jeez.
Because they know what's coming. And they know at this point the governor doesn't let them do shit. Leave them alone. Let them have fun. It's, civil disobedience, blah, 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 whatever. Let it go. It was sad because in that moment, and this was still 2020, and in that moment I was like, there goes a place I grew up in. Because this is the most high-end part of Los Angeles. And it's already gone to shit. I can only imagine what's happening in the worst neighborhoods to the worst neighborhoods. You know what I mean? Like, the suburbs were okay because nobody gave a shit about the suburbs, to be honest. There was nothing there. But, like, all of Los Angeles was, like, burning at one point. Wow. And I'm sure everybody saw it because, like,
I forgot that.
Every single news outlet kept us on 24/7 talking about the hell that is California.
Right. Yeah, see, that's complete circle here. I was trying to make a joke about Smokey the Bear being at California. That's why he's ripped. He came back just all those forest fires. Never worked. But
which that was its own set of, like, apocalyptic imagination when we saw the fires.
Dude, yeah, the pictures that I saw.
Oh, my God. Forget the pictures. I was in my buddy's house in Granada Hills, which was just like a hill away. And you could, from his back patio, see just red mountains
you could see
everywhere.
It?
Everywhere.
Wow.
It was that close.
Was it there? What place had the orange skies, like, at one point? Because was it Australia or was it?
So California's had orange skies
at
previous fires. I don't know if this one, the not the last one, but the one before that, the really bad one. I think it was, again, pandemic or pre-pandemic, like something close to that time range. That one had, like, the orange sky everywhere.
Yeah.
Because that one burned for a while.
Yeah.
And I remember, like, 2 years after that, we got some rain that was unexpected in California. And then there was, like, a super bloom that happened, like, just beautiful flowers everywhere covering these mountains. It was the most gorgeous thing you would ever see because it was just like fields of beautiful colors going down these waves of mountains. And it was just because the burning made the soil super rich.
Okay.
I guess there's, like, a process that happens. And then the rain just kind of, like, refertilized everything. And you got these gorgeous blooms of flowers.
Dang.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was called the super bloom. You can look it up. There's photos of it everywhere. People traveled for that.
Really?
Yeah, they came to California to see the super bloom.
And now they gone because of the new fires, or?
No, I mean, now it's just covered with grass and stuff like that.
Yeah, I forgot you guys had those, like, big riots over there in LA for a bit. They were
because LA's had many riots.
Right.
So, like, if you look at the history of LA, there was the LA riots, there was the Watt riots, there was the Rodney King riots. There's been riots after riots after riots. Like, then we did BLM. Then when Nipsey Hussle got killed, there was riots that happened because of that.
Wow.
It's California is a very different place.
Right.
And will always be, hopefully, a different place. It's always been this really cool, like, the entire state almost feels like an art commune.
Oh, okay.
Where this is why so much crazy is also mixed into it. Because there's a level of crazy that goes with being an artist.
Oh, yeah.
You have to admit it because your mind works very different from everybody else's. You saw Smokey the Bear. All of us saw it. Nobody thought funny. You were like, let's get this bitch on a board.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
That's the fun. And I think that's why California has been the mecca of, like, artistic creativity. Not just Hollywood, but musicians have gone there. Writers have gone there. All of these people that have spent so much of their careers in California is because of its weirdness.
Right. It's La La Land. You know?
Yes.
Exactly.
It no longer is, though, unfortunately.
Dang, man. So L.A. and New York.
I hate to break it to everybody, but you don't go to L.A. to pursue your dreams anymore. That's done. It's dead. But think about it as a comedian, too. Do you even care about having a late night show one day? Or do you care more about having a really successful comedy career and a bunch of side hustles that will make you very profitable and successful in a podcast you can start, or write a book, or whatever it is? Because that playbook has changed.
Right. There's so many different like channels. It's just, like people talk about like late night TV is no longer what it used to be. Like,
Who watches it?
Yeah. It's still like a big feat, but I don't really know, man. I was thinking about that the other day. I think my only like really dream is to like, if I can do this for a living, I'm set. Like that's what I want to do. I don't want to use my degree, even though I spent a long time getting it.
Yeah, welcome to the club. Okay. We all have degrees. So yours was what, business and finance?
It was in marketing.
Marketing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I'm using it, but I'm trying not to use it for too long.
I did communications.
You did communications?
Mass communications. That was my degree.
Here we are. Does this fall into this category?
It does.
Okay.
Although they never taught me any of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I do respect what I did learn from college, which is what I think most people don't take away from college, is the ability to think critically for yourself.
Oh, okay.
That is the main thing I took away from college is, how do I weed out the bullshit?
Mm-hmm.
Because a ton of shit in college is bullshit, dude. I'm sorry.
Right. No, 1,000%, man.
And especially in like more of an artistic form or the liberal arts category where communications falls into, it's not a BS, like it's not a science degree. Technically, it's more of like an art degree, a BA. So, like finance falls into that, engineering falls into the BS side of the science side of the world, like, very stringent kind of rules in place. And you fall into these stupid ass classes that they're just part of your prerequisite, but you disagree completely with the whole thing. And you're just like, you're the problem.
Oh, I see what you mean. Like when you take those classes, that's when you're like, that's where the critical...
Because there's two things you can take from school. Either wholeheartedly accept everything that is fed to you and just become another cog in the machine, which is what they want. Or take all of that information that is fed to you and say, I can do this differently and better.
Oh, yeah.
This is where you get the innovators and the people that we talk about.
The rule breakers.
Millions of people graduate college. We're part of this list of people that have graduated college. But only a few certain ones make an impact in the scientific community, in the arts community, in the analytical community, in the literature community, whatever the field of study where your degree is housed. There's only a few that actually make a change. And it's almost always the ones that question everything.
Oh, okay. It's
never the ones that conform, because conformity does not innovate.
Exactly, man.
So that's the one thing I learned is like, don't conform. Don't accept anything on face value. Do your own investigation. Be critical.
Yeah, man. That's what I think. With my degree, it was like I promised my dad. My dad made me promise him that I would get my degree. But honestly, like I was just looking at the degree as like one obstacle. I was like, okay, let me just get this over with, and then I can really pursue what I want to do. You know what I mean? And it's like,
again, welcome to the club. And I think a lot of us that have degrees that collect dust somewhere did it to appease or satisfy a parental desire or a societal desire to just be like, let me get through, like you said, this obstacle so I can actually do what I want to do.
Yeah, man. Exactly.
Try what I want to try. But at the end of the day, it's also good to have that degree because I promise you, the way you think is different because you spent those 4 years in college, because you were exposed to you went to which college?
UNT.
Yes. So you were exposed to a bunch of different people, a bunch of different ideas in and out of the classroom, right?
Oh, yeah. No, I've nothing but love for my college experience. Funny enough, the only thing that I didn't like was like studying marketing. And I've learned a lot about marketing, thankfully, but like I took a philosophy class. I've learned so much from that class. It was my favorite one. Like that's what kind of made me think about like just different perspectives and stuff like that. I took is it astrology? That's which one is the study of like the star patterns and not, which one's the Sagittarius and all that fun stuff?
So astrology is that one. Astronomy is the study of the cosmos, like the stars and stuff. Okay. That's an actual science. Astrology is whatever Yahoo or whatever website is telling you that some although, like, who knows?
Mm-hmm.
You know what? Like, not to dismiss anybody and what they find solace and comfort in.
Right.
Sure, you know,
That's your thing. That's your thing. Go
if
for it.
random ass numbers make you have a good or a bad day
Mm-hmm.
because the stars are
In
aligned.
retrograde.
Because, like, I always go back to the same thing of, like, astrology would make sense to me if you counted all the goddamn stars. Good luck with that, because,
There's a lot
you
of
know, there's
stars.
so many that we can't figure it out at this point.
Apparently, there's more stars than there is grains of sand in here.
Yeah, thank you to Mr. Dr. Tyson. I have his books in there, too.
Oh yeah.
But, yeah,
Nice.
that's one of the greatest things that I've ever encountered as far as, like, to explain to us the complexity of everything and how small we are in that complexity.
Mm-hmm. No, exactly, man.
But why we have such big ass egos, bro?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what the hell compels someone to get up on a stage and think, I can command a bunch of people
Yeah.
at my whim? And a few of you, honestly, like, if you think about it, 8-9 billion people, there's probably, 10,000 comedians trying right now, and maybe 1,000 really good comedians.
Right.
Is that, like, a fairish estimate, maybe?
Maybe even more. Who knows, man? There's so many people.
Let's say
out there now.
10,000 good and 50,000 trying it out.
Yeah, I'll do that.
That's still such a, like, tiny decimal point in what is the world population.
Total population. Yeah,
And it
man.
is really a mainly American kind of a thing.
Right.
We are the kings of comedy.
Like entertainment and all that fun stuff, like arts.
I think entertainment-wise, Bollywood kicks our ass because
Ooh.
the amount of stuff they churn out on a regular basis and the viewership that they have kills Hollywood
Mm-hmm.
all the time. We just don't want to recognize it, but comedy is a very much... Maybe it's... I don't know if the genesis is America, but, like, it seems like we do it better than anybody else in the world.
Right.
The Brits
Yeah.
are cool. There's a...
Oh, yeah.
Like,
They
Eddie
do
Izzard's
have-
on that list because he's a British comedian. He's really funny.
See, I don't recognize. I was gonna ask you about this guy. Just
Eddie Izzard, he's a hilarious comedian. My favorite stand-up special he did is Dress to Kill.
Dress to Kill.
Check it out. It's hilarious. A lot of it is for that time period relevant, and some of it is British related.
Mm-hmm.
But it's one of my favorite comedy specials in the world, and why he holds a special place for me is he showed me that comedy doesn't have to follow a specific playbook,
Oh, okay.
because he does it in a very different way. And I don't want to ruin it. Just when you get to see Eddie Izzard, you'll see what I mean when I say he does it different.
Different style.
So that's why he's one of my favorites.
That's cool. I definitely got to look him up. I'm trying to watch more comedy. It's a weird thing. I want to watch more comedy so I can kind of like learn from it, but I also don't want to watch more comedy and then like base my stuff off of what I see.
That's a question I was going to ask you. Do you ever fear that you are doing someone else's joke, even though you are the one that came up with it? Like, you've never heard anybody else do it, but is there something in the back of your mind that goes like, is somebody bigger than me doing this?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. What's it called? I have this joke where I compare Mexicans to being like AI technology. And Louis C.K. tweeted that like a couple weeks later when I was doing the jokes, and I was pissed, man. Like, now it just looks like I just read his tweet and I was like, okay, now I'm doing that joke, you know? And there's examples where like comics here, one of the comics, Cody Swindell, he had a joke where it was almost word for word parallel to Nate Bargatze. And he didn't steal it. It recently came out, and it's just crazy to see like there's so many parallel thinkings, like, and it's crazy to think like comedy's been going on for so long, and there's only so many topics, so it's like it's crazy to see like it's just like a rat race to think who can think of a joke here, who can think of that, like especially with current events and stuff like that. But yeah,
I kind of find that to be the best kind of challenge for an audience member,
mm-hmm.
because hearing you say that means that everybody's got to up their game.
Yeah,
Everybody's got to up their game, and everybody's got to come up with that one creative way of looking at something that nobody's looked at.
mm-hmm.
I love that as a fan or a
Mhm.
spectator, because now you're like, cool, the new generation understands that, and they're going to work double hard to make things funny.
Oh yeah, especially with like memes and stuff like that. Like I see like younger generations, like their humor and stuff like that. And I'm like, it's crazy to think of like how they can think of that stuff too. You know what I mean? Like they're using their channels, and I don't know, man.
Which, if you think about it, like, memes are almost a new type of comedy genre.
Oh yeah.
Because it's funny,
Mm-hmm.
and you can genuinely like, I've laughed out loud at a meme because the picture and the wording is so well done
Mm-hmm.
that it's laugh out loud, like it's hilarious to you.
Exactly.
The same way a stand-up comedian that hits you that way when you're just crying laughing. I don't know. It's like, how cool is that? That like the internet gave us a new way, a new art form.
A whole new art
It
form.
seems like a completely different. So is this podcasting.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
It was a non-existent. I mean, it existed, but it was so rare. It was like, James Lipton with Inside the Actor Studio, or Charlie Rose, or Charlie King. No, was it something King?
Mm-hmm.
Damn it, I forget his name. Sorry, Mr. King. My condolences. You passed away too. But
Was it Martin?
no, Larry King. Thank you, Larry King.
All right.
These were the guys. Barbara Walters was also one of them with 60 Minutes, where they would usually do like an hour to an hour and a half. James Lipton would do 4 hours for Inside the Actor Studio, but it would be cut down and condensed into like an hour to an hour and a half kind of a thing. There's a reason why I always ask that question. It's an homage to James Lipton, my favorite interviewer of all time. He would always start the question with, "Where were you born?"
Oh, okay.
This is the first time I've mentioned it, but yeah, it's always been an homage to him. He's always been that inspiration for me to pursue something like this. I loved his style.
Now, to bring it back, like, where's that line of, like, it's an homage / are you, like, I don't want to say stealing it. Like, that's what I'm trying to say is, like, where is that line of, like, it's an homage or it's a tribute or just outright saying it's yours? You know what I mean?
I think it becomes an homage or a tribute if it is singularly that one thing, and you are not trying to copy his style completely. Whereas here's the main differentiation between James Lipton and myself is he did it as a professor at the Pace Institute of whatever the college he was at. It was part of a college program, and he would have like the cards that we would all use to study in school. What are they called?
Index cards?
Index cards. He would have blue index cards this thick, 2 or 3 piles of them, of research that was pre-done on the guest.
Wow.
And that's the big difference between what he does and what I do. Is my barometer for having someone on is, did you make me laugh? And it stops there.
Okay.
I don't do any research into who you are, what your life is, any of that stuff. I don't know. There's a point to that. It's like, that's what is my attempt at paying tribute to a person that inspired me to do this, but also keeping it authentic to me.
Nice.
Where I don't want to copy his form of doing, because his research was ridiculously extensive to the point of, like, when you were 3 years old, you had a red bike that your uncle gave you 2 weeks before he passed away. Go. And you're just like, how do you know? Like, so many of his guests have said, how do you know this? Nobody knows this.
Have you seen Nardwuar?
I was about to say
I
that.
love Nardwuar.
I love Nardwuar.
That made me want to watch. So it's James Lipton, you said?
Yeah. Inside the Actor Studio with James Lipton. He is the unknowing inspiration to this.
Okay.
Because I saw his interview with Dave Chappelle post coming back from Africa.
Oh, wow.
And it will go down as one of my favorite interviews of all time, because James didn't do what anyone else in the journalistic world would do, is press Chappelle on Africa and nothing but Africa and that deal. Rather, he did what he had always done. He never steered off the course. He interviewed the man like anyone else. And when that topic came up, they spoke about it freely, and it was more genuine than someone in a newsroom saying, so you left, what do you think about all this?
Okay.
You know, like, that bullshit didn't exist.
It was about Dave Chappelle, not what he did.
And it was Dave Chappelle telling you about all of that stuff when he felt comfortable saying it.
Okay.
This is Dave Chappelle openly sitting on a stage smoking a cigarette that he had rolled up. Nobody minds this. By the way, the whole thing is done in front of an audience who are all students of this film school who are their seniors. So the whole premise is, like, you're about to graduate. I'm going to bring someone stupid famous.
Yeah.
Jim Carrey,
Wow.
Dave Chappelle, Robin Williams. Like, the name of A-list everybody is never ending. Like, Martin Scorsese's been on it. So producers, directors, actors, everybody has been on that program in the film arts. Why Chappelle was there? Because of the Chappelle Show and Half Baked and his other filmography.
Right.
And that whole point is, like, the audience of the graduating class gets to be there to participate in this 4-hour lecture almost, which is condensed down into like an hour to an hour and a half series, which is called the Inside the Actor Studio.
Okay.
I feel like I need to kind of explain it because it's when I was growing up, very, very big, and because a lot of people in your age range probably don't even know what I'm talking about right now.
Yeah,
but the whole point was the graduating class of a film school would be in attendance to some of the greatest thinkers, creators, doers of that industry. And at the end of it, they also had a Q&A where the students got to ask a few questions, and some of them were doing their undergraduate degree or doing their master's degree. So like, it was different people at the graduating level. So the questions are always smart and very much so career oriented. So that's the kind of thing that was going on, is not bullshit questions, but very intense, very important questions about someone's past and how they actually got to the precipice of being who they are. But that research was vital.
That's crazy, man.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so that's my homage to him will always be, I feel like I will always begin my podcast with "Where were you born?" as an homage to him. But I will never want to copy him in any way because of my admiration and love of what he did.
Like, if you showed up with like a giant stack of blue cards, then we'd know it's like,
yeah.
Okay.
Or if there was an audience sitting here, or if I was wearing the same type of blazer that he was wearing, that was all the clothing was done by Burberry for many, many years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Dang, all right.
That's how big of a
James.
fan I was. But at the end, I would read the credits of all costume design done by Burberry, and I was like, holy shit, like, you know. And it was like the pens that were used and all of this stuff. So like, none of that will ever exist in this.
Yeah.
And he was also on a stage with he sat behind a desk, kind of like literally like you'd be interviewed by a professor.
Wow.
This is meant to be more of pay homage to the inspiration, but never imitate it. And I think that's kind of, we were speaking about you as a comedian, and you said like you're kind of reluctant to get into the other older comedians or other comedians because you don't want to ever feel like you're copying someone.
Right. Yeah.
Has that ever happened to you where you felt like you got off the stage and you're like, shit, man, I sounded like this guy. That's not what I wanted to do. Or is there like a reason for you avoiding? Because I feel like if I wanted to be the best basketball player, I would study everybody else and see how well they did to try to figure out their moves.
Right.
But I don't feel like this translates the same way.
Yeah, because on that, I feel like with the moves, that's what's cool about sports. It's like, I guess in anything in general, like, it's just going to keep getting better. Like, once someone breaks that barrier, it's like you show that it's possible so other people can do it too, you know? But with like that, with comedy, with me, I catch myself going like, all right. And Mark Norman does that all the time. And I genuinely, like, I cannot remember if I've always said that or if I only say that because I heard Mark do it, you know? And so that, like, I try to avoid doing, all right, you know? But it's just a word. It's all right. It's such a normal word. It's not like, I don't know.
No, I completely understand, because I think in your mind you feel like you're saying it the same tone he says it. Mm-hmm. You feel like you're literally mimicking the man. Even though if I probably asked your mom, she'd probably say, or your dad, he'd say like, he's been saying all right since I can remember.
Right. Especially if it's like a dumb joke. I'm always like, all right, you know, like, see? I'm joking. You know what I mean? So it's silly things like that.
But
yeah,
it's the same way I wouldn't chop up, where were you born as a copying of someone. I don't think all right is a copying of someone. If anything, that belongs to somebody else. The actor, all right.
Owen Wilson.
Matthew McConaughey. Right?
You're right.
He's a Texan too.
I said Owen Wilson. Sorry.
Because he played opposite Owen Wilson, I think, in a movie they did together, didn't they? Didn't they do
which one?
It's the one where the Wedding Crashers. Weren't they together in that one?
I don't know. The Wedding
Owen
Crashers.
Wilson is in that one for sure.
Yeah. Oh my God.
But it's not Matthew McConaughey. No, I'm sorry. It's not Matthew McConaughey. It's it's on the tip of my tongue.
Wow.
It's also someone stupid famous.
It's not. Is it Vince Vaughn? Is he in that movie?
It is.
It is.
I think it's Vince Vaughn and
Owen Wilson.
Owen Wilson, yeah. And I think, is Owen a Texan?
I don't
I
know.
don't remember.
I don't know actually.
I know Matthew is. Matthew McConaughey is a Texan.
I think he's from Austin. I think.
I think so, or like south of it, or near it. Like he's got a ranch and stuff.
Something like that. Yeah. He had a house in Amarillo for a while there, and it became a tourist attraction.
I wouldn't be surprised. He doesn't seem like he wants to live in a big city or something. You know,
Right.
I think he wants to just like be him.
That's got to be crazy, man. Like once you reach that kind of level of celebrity, man, once you lose that anonymity or whatever, that's got to be wild.
Well, I think it's not just actors anymore that have reached these feats. I feel like there's people that are musicians for sure, but comedians and some podcasters.
Yeah.
A few notable ones that have reached this stratosphere of no privacy anymore. Like everybody knows who you are. Like the world knows who you are.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And it's far and few in between, but like Chappelle's one of those people, even though he doesn't have a podcast, but like Chappelle is synonymously known everywhere.
Right.
He is the name of all names in comedy right now, in my opinion. Like you can't deny the genius that is Chappelle.
Especially since he's been around for so long. He's been great for so long, too. Like, it's not just, it came out of nowhere.
Dude, his joke about the baby selling crack on the street corner is fucking ridiculous. Yeah. Because that's the beauty of a great comedian. They paint the picture so well that you can't help but feel like you're in some VR simulation standing there going like, that's a baby with a diaper selling crack on a street corner. And I can see it because you're telling me so, like I can smell the shitty street, that corner that you're on or something.
Exactly. Yeah, like Tom Segura, he has a joke where his dad wakes him up and he talks about like how his dad had his dad breath. And I was like, dang, dude, for real. Like dads do have bad breath sometimes. Like
my favorite Tom Segura joke, and currently, because I'm sure he'll come up with something in the future, is the one where he's talking about he's walking through Philadelphia where a white guy calls a black guy the N-word, and then out of a bush, another black guy just appears. It's one of the funniest things in the world to me because he's just like, we're all going to die now. The way he's like, the way he drops that voice.
Yeah.
In that moment, you're in that park in Philly going like, Tom, we're going to die. Tom, we're going to die. It's
beautiful, man.
It's perfect.
Storytelling is, it's crazy, man. Great storytelling it's one of those talents. I don't know. It's just, if you can do it, it's beautiful, man.
I think if it's just like a great book, like a novel or a great movie, a comedian that tells a story well, like Bert or Tom or Dave or some of the greats that you could think of that are the storyteller comedians, you don't even feel like you're in a story.
Right.
It's just beginning to end, this perfect flow. You never know when you got on or got off. You're just along for that ride. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's so rare.
Yeah. I think that's what I like about comedy is like when you think you know where something's going and they know how to just derail you out of nowhere, and you're like, oh, right, this is a joke. Like, I don't know. And they're taking you out. I don't know. It's cool. You get expected.
That's the whole point of it. I think and at least I remember from the comedy class what, I don't know how much of it, because like, sorry to the dude that was teaching the class, but if you're teaching a comedy class, that means you just not, those that can do, those that cannot teach is like one of those things that it's a motto to live by.
Say that again? Sorry.
Those that can do, those that cannot teach.
Oh, okay.
Now, I would never throw this into physical activities. So like coaches, like mixed martial arts or taekwondo, all of these are masters that teach this craft. They have to master it first. Right. You know what I mean? Like most coaches on the professional NFL level at some point were players or had some sort of like a big athletic thing. They weren't some dude just watching TV that was like, I can probably draw some shit on a whiteboard.
Okay, I could do that. Let me get a whiteboard real quick.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like when it comes down to teaching things of literature or entertainment, a lot of that probably is people that just couldn't.
Right.
Maybe some of them did it for the passion of it, like the love of teaching.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Those do exist. My, 2 or 3% is what I'm going to chop it up to. 97%, your dreams didn't self-actualize or manifest.
Right. You're settling.
And you fell back on a degree that you had and a little bit of experience in a failed career. And you're like, I could probably teach.
Right.
I can tell others how I fucked up.
Yeah. Honestly, to tie this all to the saxophone thing, the more I got into like college level playing, I realized like I didn't think I was good enough to actually be like a professional saxophone player. And the only other route would be teaching kids how to do it, or like finding gigs here and there. And I realized like I don't want to do that. Yeah, exactly. So
because it doesn't sound like the life that you were trying to go for, and it just sounds like settling.
Right.
And like you're 26.
Yeah.
What the hell is the point of settling now?
Yeah.
Or
exactly, man.
2 or 3 years ago when you graduated college or whenever that kind of like moment was. Why?
Exactly, man. Funny enough, I just graduated like in December. Like I've been feeling I'm in this weird little area where I feel old because all my classmates are like 22, 23. Most of my friends are that age, but I'm still like, I'm 26. You know what I mean? It's like, I was listening to a podcast the other day and it was this older comic. And she said, I remember when I was like brand new to comedy, I was like maybe 10 years in, I was 30 years old and I was like brand new. And she's saying 10 years in, she's 30. Like, it made me like, there's perspective to it all. It's just, I don't know.
But you know what? That's not isolated. I feel like when I listen to podcasts or interviews of other seasoned comedians, they always say that, dude. They're like 5 years into it, 7 years into it, didn't know what the hell was going to happen, but just kept pushing and just kept pushing. And then finally something happened that kind of lit the fire that is the Brett Kreischers of the world and the Tom Segura's and whoever else we've mentioned. There's a reason we've name dropped these people.
Right.
It's because we have admiration for them and we think they're some of the best to have done it or do it now.
Oh, yeah.
It's not a name drop. It's more of, dude, we can't think of anyone else to kind of compare this conversation to. You're that person.
Yeah, man. It's just crazy.
Which is, you got to put in the work. I know you, like 10 years may seem like a lot, but you never know how many arenas you're going to be selling out when you're in your 30s.
Oh, yeah, man.
And it seems like all the greats started selling out big venues in their 30s, sometimes in their 40s. And it felt like their late teens and their 20s was just to work shit out.
Right,
Chappelle
exactly,
was
man.
the exception because he started like when he was like 14 or something,
Yeah,
13.
dude.
Like he was really young.
Yeah, him and Matt Rife, they both like started in like their teens. And I'm so jealous of those people that start early. Like, I'm jealous of those people that find what they want to do and they know what they want to do, like right off the bat. With me, like this comedy thing is like, hey, this is fun. We might be good at it. Let's just give it a shot. You know what I mean? And we'll just see where it goes. I don't know. But those big comics, I mean, there's just a lot of work that we don't really see. Like, it feels like they come up out of nowhere, but in reality, they've been hitting mics and they've been doing the road. I don't know how to describe it. I feel like
No. That makes complete sense. I mean, that's the uniqueness of stand-up comedy is that unless you're sitting in that room, you don't see the guy working out that bit that eventually you see on Netflix.
right.
But
yeah,
for sure, for a good 8 to 10 months, that person was probably on the road working that material out, honing it down into what they felt like was that hour worth being a special. But prior to them being that level of a comedian, they did open mics like everybody else.
like everybody else, man.
They had to put in. I think that's the truth about art is you have to put in the work. You want to be a great musician? I don't know of any that didn't struggle forever until they made it.
Right. No, exactly, man. Funny enough, I wish there was like I want to find like a book or like pictures of like, for instance, like Maroon 5. They're one of the biggest pop bands now or whatever, but back then they were just some soft rock group. I want to see like a poster of them opening up for a different band. You know what I mean? Like at one point they were the opening act, and it's just like Mark Norman, he was the opening act for Amy Schumer, and now he's, headlining stuff. So it's cool to see that progress. I love seeing the steps that people take for like where they are now,
And to that point, you mentioned Tony Hinchcliffe.
Yeah.
This is why Kill Tony is one of the coolest things that actually exists.
Right.
Because you get to see And shout out to Chandler Valencia for being on Kill Tony. That's kind of how all of this happened. I saw him on that Kill Tony episode, and then I saw him live once, and I was like, dude, you're funny.
Nice.
Dude, like, you're hilarious.
Yeah, Chandler was my first like comedy friend. Him and I, we both did it in Denton. So sorry, not to cut you off.
No.
Yeah.
But to get back to the whole thing of like, I love the fact that Kill Tony thing exists because it allows us to see the beginnings of the spark. You know, like a lot of the people that get up there that do that 1 minute, 95% don't get anybody to laugh.
Right.
But within that 95%, there's like 20% that there's sparks of stuff that's happening. And you can tell because the way the interview goes. And especially if there's other comedians on that stage, they'll try to give you hints of like, you were going this way, go a little bit this way, it'll probably be funnier, and like stuff like that. And this is the stuff you don't genuinely get to see. It's a minute.
Right.
Most people on an open mic get a minute. And you got to try to make a bunch of people in a room that you've never met before laugh.
Right.
This is like it kind of gives you an inside look at, this is the amount of work it takes to actually become a comedian.
Dude, right.
Like, you have to be in front of a group of people that you've never met, night in, night out, until somebody actually laughs.
Right.
And then you cling to that shit, like you did. And
Right.
you're like, all right, I can probably get 2 people to laugh.
Yeah.
I feel like that's kind of how it starts, is like you go from 1 to 2 to 4, like it compounds at some point, and you're like, holy shit, I sold out in the arena.
Hopefully, man. No, yeah, that's what's. I remember the first time I was at the open mic, I got one laugh, but I remember I got one guy like looking at me like, like
Like cringy?
He was like, all right, like, you know, and like it was one of those where his face sticks with me so much, man. Like, but even then, it's like that's part of it. Like it's.
I think that's supposed to exist though. Like,
oh yeah,
you should have those embedded in the back of your brain.
Oh yeah.
Until so much good stuff comes that you can't even think of it anymore.
Hopefully,
but you should keep it there until you can replace it with enough stacks of cool memories.
Right.
That doesn't even come on your radar.
Yeah.
But like, that's the thing. The cockiness of some people.
Oh yeah.
Is their biggest demise. And I've seen it on the stage. Like the incest dude. What are you doing, bro? He leaned heavier into that.
Was it the first guy or was it?
I won't say because
okay.
somebody can go back and try to figure it out, even though like nobody recorded that shit.
Right.
Like, come on, man. You dug deeper, and it was crowd work that you were doing. So you made it
Now
20 times worse by doing crowd work.
Yeah, I remember now.
Like, come on, man. You got the cringe factor right by the sentence. Why'd you keep going? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it had one big pop, and I think he just kept
going down and down and down.
Yeah. No, yeah. It's just exactly stuff like that. I think Kill Tony is one of those like crazy experiences because like the crowd, they want you to bomb.
Yeah.
Like,
have you seen when he asks like, do you guys like it when they do great? Yeah. Do you like it when they do bad? And everybody's just yelling.
Yeah, I was a huge Kill Tony fan. That's how I know about Ryan Joseph and William Montgomery.
So Ryan Joseph, I actually got to see him live at Addison, if I'm not mistaken. And the dark humor that he was doing was just right up my alley.
Dude, yeah.
I was just like, yes, this is awesome. Man. This is so cool. And it was funny because I was with a group of people and none of them were laughing.
No, they weren't into it.
No, they weren't into it, but I was just crying, bawling my eyes out.
Yeah.
But that's the other problem that I have is I'm so desensitized to this that when I'm chilling with the comedians and they're laughing, I'm genuinely laughing with them. Right. Otherwise, I'm just not laughing because you're not hitting it. It's funny, but it's funny for everybody else.
I think
this is why that list joke was so funny to me because I was like, it made me laugh. I'm like, it's hard to make me laugh. I don't know what it is. It's just, it's hard.
Okay.
You have to be good to make me laugh. Not to be. I don't even think that's being like cocky or anything like that. It's just, sorry, dude. It's like doing.
You're a hard laugh. It's okay.
If you drink alcohol every day for 30 years, you're probably gonna have a higher tolerance than others.
Right.
That's me with comedy. I don't know what it is. It's just like it takes a lot of work to make me laugh.
No, and that makes sense. And it's not like you're just sitting there thinking like it's not funny. Like I've heard Joe Liz talk about this with Conan, to where like comedians and like people will like listen to a joke and be like, oh, that's funny, but they won't laugh. It's like that's a great joke, but they won't laugh about it because it's just like they recognize it Does that make any sense to you?
It makes a lot of sense to me. Yeah, there's
Okay.
there's notebooks that nobody will ever see of notes that I've written about the comedians that I've invited onto my podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a ton of places where it says like one word of the joke that he or she did,
Mm-hmm.
and next to it says funny.
Yeah.
The ones where it's just the word itself and nothing next to it, it's because I was crying laughing
Oh,
and I
wow,
didn't have
yeah.
a reason to write it down that
Nice.
I was funny. If I put this here, that means it's hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, those notebooks nobody will ever see. I will burn those before I let a comedian see them.
No,
But that's my
man.
process. That's and when I'm sitting there, I will literally write notes down. And unfortunately, it's happened multiple occasions where the first few jokes are awesome, and I really get into the comedian, and then they completely lose me.
Oh, okay.
They just and it's not just me that they lose, and it's obvious that the crowd is gone too.
Yeah, right.
So like, I'll scratch the name off, and I'll just like, nope.
Dang.
Some of them have been huge,
Mhm.
and I just been like, sorry, dude, you didn't make me laugh, or ma'am, you didn't make me laugh.
It happens, man.
That's it. The only way this becomes authentic or genuine in any way is that like, did I find you funny? If I didn't, why are you here?
Mm-hmm.
I can't talk to you for 2 or 3 hours about your life and why I'm interested if you're not funny.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
No, yeah. Well, I
that-
mean, again, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. I hope I'm doing okay so far.
no,
Oh, yeah.
dude, we're just talking. That's all
Cool.
it is. It's just we're having a chat together, and the whole point is like figuring out for someone else that might be interested in going up for the first time to know that, hey, bro, you're gonna suck.
Dude, oh,
But
yeah.
that's the fun.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Because when you're on the other side of it, 10 months into it, 2 years into it, 4 years into it, you can sit down with someone and laugh about the guy that give you the cringy look
Right, exactly.
because you've worked so much. You've added so many layers to it at this point.
Mm-hmm.
That's the fun.
Exactly, man. I was thinking about this on the way here. Like, bombing in the moment sucks, dude. It hurts. You know what I mean? Like, you hate yourself for a little bit. You kind of question why you're doing it. But then, like, when you go to your friends or you're, like, telling your family or something, like, oh, dude, I ate a dick on stage last night. They laugh about it. It's, like, because it's funny. Like, even if it's, like, bad, even if you get a heckler, it's, like, you have a story to tell. It just really depends on how you look at it after that, you know?
Well, I think that you've kind of got the best perspective of it, of being able to take what would have been cringy 10 months ago to be like, that was fucking hilarious.
Yeah,
that
man.
guy's face was honestly so funny. Because like the way you even did it, for
yeah.
those that will listen to this, like you did the face, and I was just sitting there like, okay, I know exactly what he's talking about.
Just know he was cringing hard. His teeth were showing. Oh,
And
God,
you
man.
never know where that guy is coming from.
yeah.
It's like, dude, and I even told,
Sorry.
it's even part of the episode I did with Cheyenne, because I met him. I got to see Ari Shafir at Addison.
Oh, really?
Yeah, dude, it was an amazing show. Like,
God, dude.
Ari's right up my alley, and it was right after I saw his special Jew.
Mm-hmm.
So, for some reason, I thought he was kind of like touring with that special still.
Mm-hmm.
The man did over an hour of completely new stuff.
And it's killer stuff, I'm guessing.
He murdered,
God,
dude. He
That's why they're pros, man.
fucking murdered. And it wasn't him working out new material. It was new material that he had already worked out somewhere else. And like, this was the Friday night or the Saturday night show, like the sold out show. Like, he had kind of like figured out all the little picadillos and knew what to do with it.
Yeah.
Even though it seemed like it was just him chilling on the stage talking to you about his dog and stuff. But like, amazing.
Exactly.
The reason I bring it up is, and I talked about it, there was a group sitting to my left, and there was this one person, won't even mention gender, just to kind of keep the anonymity all the way, that had their arms crossed and refused to laugh
The whole time.
the whole time.
Oh, my God, yeah.
Whereas, not just me laughing, I'm talking about every single person at that club is crying, laughing. Like, Ari's he's not some random dude. He's a seasoned vet. He knows how to kill.
Right.
We all know this.
Right.
But and like, I'm just sitting there going like, damn, you went all out of your way to come here just not to laugh. Just stay home.
That's what I was thinking. Why? Why'd you come then, you know?
And the shitty thing is, like, that person sitting in a group of 6 or 8 people, the rest of them are laughing and having a great time. I feel sorry for the rest of your people that are there because they have to deal with your jackass on the way ride home, because you're going to be sitting there going like, and like all of the topics that you can find to pick apart, because you missed the entire point of comedy. He talks about all this bullshit to bring light to it, so people can actually understand all the crap that exists in the world, not for you to think that he's hard pressed making just fun of it. What are you going to realize? That's what comedy is, like telling you the bullshit of the world and telling you to look at it.
Now, I hate to like tie this all into like myself, but there's actually something that I wanted to talk to you about. So, like with that, for instance, like people attack like comics a lot of like being like racist or sexist, you know, or something like that, because they make a joke about certain topics. But in reality, just because they're like talking about that topic doesn't make them a racist, you know, or anything like that. So to tie it all in, like I have a joke where I mentioned George Floyd, and at the show on Wednesday, one of my friends was in the crowd and he heard the table behind him go, "Oh, this racist motherfucker," you know, like, and in reality, it's like,
so tell me the joke.
I pretty much just tie, I tie like politics and business together. Like I say, like, what was it? Like pro-choice car insurance. Don't let an accident ruin your life. And then I say like McDonald's, you're keeping it. I could bring it in politics and business together. And then I say, you've heard of the George Foreman grill. Get ready for the George Floyd inhaler. It's there for you when you can't breathe. And because that whole thing is he couldn't breathe. And so
I don't see the racism in it. I see you bringing light to a tragic event.
Right. And that's just more.
And just trying to find the funny in it. Like, cool. Okay. That's the entire point of it. Like, we all understand that this tragic thing happened. Doesn't matter what side of this argument politically you fall under, a human life is gone.
Right.
There's the tragedy. It's done right there. What the circumstances are and underlying the police problem or this problem, none of that actually matters.
Right. Like,
honest to God, the person died. Let's start with that as your baseline of a tragedy occurring. Cool. It's been 2 years now?
Something like that, yeah.
It's been a minute.
Yeah.
At some point, we need to start making fun of it to bring light to all of the injustice that occurred, including the person losing their life because of certain circumstances.
Right.
A good comedian, all of us that are kind of like the general masses, will find the funny and relate to you and go down this journey with you of the story that you're telling or the jokes that you're telling, because we can all relate to it in some way. And I feel like, I think what we were talking about is like when you're too far left, too far right, and you kind of like politicize comedy or try to kind of pander to the mob on either side, you lose everybody. And I think you're tying it in with Mark, and the way he does it is kind of like right in the middle. You can touch upon the race and you can say what everybody's thinking, and it's really funny. I think that's kind of like where we were trying to
right.
That's what we were really talking about.
Yeah, where he talks about how like he likes that people can't tell whether he's left or right. And I think that's perfect.
Yeah. I never thought about it that way until you mentioned it. But yeah, if I think about Mark Normand, I can't tell because he doesn't really bring it up that much in a very definitive way. Whereas Shane Gillis, you know where he stands.
Right.
Or Ari Shaffir, you know where he stands. Like, there's certain things that these men have spoken about that for sure kind of doesn't mean that they're a Democrat or Republican, but just kind of means like they're somewhere in the middle. You know, like they're generally just fine, just leave everybody alone kind of people.
Exactly. They're just watching the world, honestly. They're just looking for the next joke, I feel like.
I feel like that's the best way to be a comedian is don't overly attach yourself to ideologies, because at the end of the day, you're supposed to make fun of all of them because they're so stupid anyways.
Exactly.
But kind of where, you're supposed to tell the people like, hey, you're being morons. Hello, stop it. Like, here's what you're doing wrong.
Yeah.
I feel like that's what comedy is, or should be.
I think, yeah, honestly, man, like politics, honestly, to me, like they're kind of annoying. Like I had an ex-girlfriend who was very, very, very left. And because of her, that's where I kind of got some of my political views. Like, I kind of learned from what she would tell me. But after we broke up, it was like right back to just kind of tuning out when it came to politics and just kind of seeing what they were saying. Like, I don't know. It's weird.
I think politics is one of those touchy subjects and a significant other can always influence it one way or the other. But a strong relationship, there's a reason she's your ex. A strong relationship will always find both sides of the argument and kind of find a happy medium. Like, you don't have to agree on everything as a couple, but respect each other's thoughts. Something to that extent. And if someone's just trying to influence you too much, or it's not going to work. At some point, subconsciously, you're going to be like, I'm out. I'm good. You know, how about I go back to being normal? I never agreed with all this crazy shit anyways. The worst thing is, like, they don't agree with it either. They're just yelling the loudest. But if you sit them down and be like, why are you yelling about this so much? Because we're being da-da-da. And you're like, show me an example, please. And they kind of lock up. Doesn't matter what side you look at. I swear, it doesn't matter. You put both of them in a room, they're the exact same person fighting about just a different topic.
Just something.
One person just has a different outlook and a way of dressing. The other person has a different outlook and a different way of dressing. At the end of the day, the bullshit arguments are interchangeable. And the rest of us, I think the vast majority of us sit there going like, can you guys just shut the fuck up? We're tired of you yelling at each other.
I'm trying to listen to this comedy show, man.
Yeah, like, I don't really care about this or that much. Man. And I guess at some point, that's the comedian's job, is to stand in front of everybody and be like, hey, you're being idiots. Like, stop it. And that was the thing that pissed me off about, like, transphobia and that whole thing of, like, if you guys wanted acceptance, you were supposed to be made fun of. Because you know why? All of us get made fun of. Every single one of us that is part of society today understands this unwritten rule of someone needs to make fun of us. Because that normalizes us.
Exactly.
We are part of the society. If people Christianity gets made fun of, Muslim faith a little bit, you know, there's obviously limitations to it because of their faith. But Judaism, I mean, there's an entire special called Jew by Ari Shafir. Like, there's and there's countless other comedians that have made fun of that. Political people get made fun of all the time, like Democrats and Republicans. Are you kidding me? Name a president that hasn't been berated on the stage by somebody. It doesn't exist. But that's how you normalize shit. If I can't make fun of you, that makes you superior to everyone. Nobody likes that shit. This is America.
I almost got scared. I almost said China, but I was like, whoa. I can't make fun of their dictator or nothing.
You can. In this country, you're free to make fun of anyone you want. That's what the fucking Constitution gave you.
All freedom of speech.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, it's not inciting violence or hate to say a leader of a country is an idiot. Or whatever the joke is. That's fine.
Exactly,
When did we become why did we do this to ourselves is a better question. We didn't become this way. We did this to ourselves.
Let's just blame COVID.
No, this started way before COVID started, man.
I was making a joke.
I wish it was just a COVID thing. COVID just brought it out to the surface.
You know what it was, man? Those goddamn vaccines. No,
probably.
They softened us up.
I got the damn vaccine because I was part of the essential worker bullshit in California and wanted to had to continue.
Oh, yeah. I wanted to go to a concert. I was like, all right, I don't mind getting a vaccine. It's fine.
But was it the right or wrong idea? I have no idea. Was it the wrong or right choice? I have no idea.
I'm just looking forward to when we're, like, old and, like, one of those, like, commercials comes on.
I'm just looking forward to being old.
Oh, yeah.
Honestly. Hopefully that happens.
Exactly. Yeah. No, but when, like, you see those commercials and they're like, if your loved one got vaccinated when you were in 2020, like, you may be entitled to, all those.
I know what you're talking about. Those mesothelioma commercials that always came on. There was that one guy that was just extra depressed with that shitty $6 haircut going like, if your loved one was a victim of mesothelioma, please call for this pamphlet and free informational guide. And you're like, shoot me now. I don't even know what this is, but I hope I don't ever get it.
Exactly, man. We're going to get entitled to some compensation in the future. Don't worry. Oh, it's funny.
I hope that doesn't happen. I honestly hope that doesn't happen. But I feel like you're right, dude. Every week, I feel like a new article comes out that says, we fucked up. Sorry about that.
Dude.
And then nobody talks about it. They just print one article in a newspaper somewhere that goes like, by the way, the mask didn't do anything.
Exactly,
Bye.
man. I've been getting annoyed with, like, the world rate, like, lately because, like, one moment something's healthy. The next moment you're like, they say, actually, that's not as healthy as we thought it was, or it turns out wine isn't all that great for you, or it's like
my wife sends me this shit on Instagram all the time. It's like some doctor I've never heard about going like, you can't eat bananas anymore because you'll die in 2 weeks. You're like, why?
Exactly,
what happened? All my life of eating bananas, no problem. Now I can't have a banana.
Exactly, man.
But they don't explain exactly what's going on. They just kind of like,
they just say it's not healthy.
They're like, studies may have shown that 14 people may have had an adverse effect while eating a banana. And you're like, what else happened? They were also on a roller coaster. You're like, come on, dude, talk about that, please. Exactly, you know what I mean? Like,
they were eating the stem.
I'm sorry, but I refuse, and I don't care to all of the Instagram, whatever the hell you are influencing. I will never be influenced by anyone on the internet.
Right.
Sorry, dude. Or ma'am. I would rather go speak to my nutritionist.
Right.
Speak to my whatever physician. And if I seriously don't like what that person has to say, I'll find another physician.
Oh, okay.
The internet is not my doctor.
Exactly.
Nor should it ever be. Because guess what? 2 months ago, some sort of oil was the best oil in the world. Now it's cancer. Who was right?
Exactly. There's
Tell
too many
me who's
sources,
right.
Man.
You know what I mean? Like, it makes no sense.
Yeah. Exactly.
For almost all of my entire life when I was in high school, that stupid pyramid of what you're supposed to eat and not eat had meat in the section of don't eat.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Like, don't eat a lot.
And then bread was in there somewhere too, right?
Bread was right at the bottom with cereal and shit, dude.
Exactly. Then you get older and they're like, by the way, dude, you don't
Frosty
eat too
Flakes
much
was sitting right there at the best things that your foundation of health and all this crap. Fruit was in there somewhere.
Yeah.
Vegetables were kind of in there somewhere. But that bullshit number changed every single year I was in school. It was 4 fruits, 7 fruits, 2 fruits, 3 vegetables. It's like, make up your fucking mind.
Exactly.
Granted, they put sugar at the very top of like, don't eat candy and blah, blah, blah. I was like, okay, cool, fine.
Right.
That's still fair. But nothing else was. Everything else was bullshit. Carbs have become the staple of death in America for the last 50 years.
Exactly, man.
It's caused more death than red meat will ever do.
Exactly.
So, like, whatever. This is the reason. It's like, if you were a child that grew up here and went to school here, you got to have a barometer of bullshit because none of the stuff they told you while you were there is still true today.
Right. Yeah.
Why are we like wholeheartly accepting everything? What the fuck happened to us as a society?
That's what I'm saying, man. I've been getting.
Tell me, like, somebody's got to explain this to me somewhere.
It's just one of those things where sometimes there's just not a right answer, and sometimes it's just enjoy life, man. Eat that 6th bunless wing. Who cares, man?
Because the problem is, like, watch, we have gluten allergies now.
Right.
That all comes from bread and shit.
Right.
How did that happen? You mean you made everybody eat that stuff so much until we started having autoimmunes that don't allow us to eat it anymore?
Exactly.
Because we were never meant to.
Right. What is that? Adaptation, I guess, or I guess would be adapting to it.
But a ton of people have not adapted to eating these ultra processed grains and wheats and all this other shit.
Exactly, man.
And I feel like in like another 20 or 30 years, when I'm in my 50s or 60s and you're in your 40s or 50s, you're going to be like, oh, yeah, by the way, all that soy you guys kept eating was not good for you either. Sorry, exactly. Like 7 generations worth of death is going to happen. We apologize.
Yeah.
Fuck it. Try this new thing now.
Yeah, even milk. Milk apparently isn't all that good for you. You should go for almond milk.
Dude.
It's like, come on, bro. It's like nothing's good for you, apparently.
That's why Lewis Black is up there.
Is he talking about that?
One of my favorite bits this man has ever done is when he goes down, and he did it way before anybody else ever did, about all the different milks.
Yeah.
And he goes into this tirade of funny about how much he hates the fact that all these bullshit milks are next to his moo cow fuck milk. And he says it just like that. I have real moo cow fuck milk next to all. And then he goes into like, show me the nipple on this thing. I can't do it justice in any way, because if you've ever heard Lewis Black, he is very unique in his style of comedy. Like, he's almost pissed at you. It's like he sounds angry, but it's so fucking funny.
Like he's ranting, right? Didn't he just come out with something?
He did, and I watched it, and it was really funny. I think it was a little bit dated when it came out, because it was talking a lot more about the vaccine and stuff on the second half of the special.
Oh, okay.
So I feel like he may have been like shooting it tail end of 2022 or middle of 2022, where it was really relevant, the whole vaccine thing, and get it, don't get it. Now just some of it didn't make sense. The first part of it was really funny stuff. It was Lewis Black the way he's always been.
Mm-hmm.
Second half kind of a little bit of,
Fell
but
off a
again,
little bit.
this is biased because I have my own problems with this whole COVID vaccine or COVID in itself. So take it for a grain of salt.
Right. That makes
But
sense.
the comedy special he did where he talked about the moo cow fuck milk
Mm-hmm.
will go down as one of my favorite things he's ever done. Like,
No,
it was
exactly,
just
man.
ridiculously funny. And it's like a whole full thing that he does about the milks and all of this other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Give yourself the treat when you get into the mood for it, because it's really that good.
Oh, well, man.
Yeah.
Exactly. But it's just, life's just annoying sometimes, bro. I think knowledge, the more we get to know stuff, like now that we actually know what calories are and what ADHD is, and the more we get to know, like, I don't know, it's just,
You know what's wonderfully disturbing about all of this shit?
what's that?
It's just they've added more categories of stuff.
Yeah.
I genuinely don't believe 80% of the stuff that they've put into the store shelves that are supposed to be cage-free, organic, and all these other words are actually that way.
Yeah, apparently organic
I
is being that
genuinely
big.
don't believe any of this shit.
Yeah. Just labels.
Because guess what? Strawberries have had no taste for the last 10 years in this country, regardless of when I buy them, where I buy them, if it's a farm. They don't have taste at all.
Mm-hmm.
I go to across the country to somewhere else. Hell, I'll go down to Mexico. They taste better.
Dude, yeah.
Tell
No, for
me
real.
I'm wrong.
No, yeah.
They have flavor to them. Like a strawberry when I was a kid, I remember what a strawberry tasted like.
Mm-hmm. No, 1,000%. I agree with you. When I have gone to Mexico, it's like over there, the food is genuinely better. Like, it's weird. Like, I don't know how to describe it. It just tastes better.
I've been to Mexico City with my wife, and it was probably one of the best dining experiences we've ever had. The cuisine was just on a different level. So, like, if you can go to Mexico City, it's cheap, like stupid cheap,
Right.
compared to like here because of the currency exchange.
Mm-hmm.
But you're like, you can go to Nobu and like these top end restaurants, but you'll get way better service than you'll ever get in
Oh, yeah.
America. There's something different about the way they do stuff there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not, and I'm mentioning Mexico City specifically because it's not like an American run Cancun resort. No, this is like Mexican stuff
Right.
in Mexico City, run by Mexican owners and operators. And yes, some of them are like big multi-conglomerates like Nobu, but there's a ton of these beautiful restaurants that exist next door to that are better,
Oh, yeah.
that are done by like some local guy you've never heard of.
For sure, man. That's just the beauty, like, of cultures and stuff like that.
But yeah,
All
to go
comes
back to
together,
that, the whole thing of like, sorry, I'm not going to believe you because you took the taste away from fruit, goddammit.
Yeah.
There is a specific taste to a banana that is permanently implanted in my brain that I will never get back because that type of banana does not exist. We
Yeah.
literally used so much GMO mutations
Right.
that crop of banana just does not exist anymore.
Yeah, dude. You're
There's a
chasing the-
specific taste I can't get back, and it gnaws at me every
Exactly,
time I
man.
eat a banana.
You're chasing the dragon.
Yeah,
The dragon fruit.
it's so stupid though. Like, why'd you guys ruin it?
It's the same with Tic Tacs. The U.S. they can say that Tic Tacs are sugar-free because of how small they are, but in reality they're loaded with sugar. Like it's just a label. It's just a little gimmick. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. Like there's loopholes for everything.
So there was this documentary I watched that was talking about the sugar trade
Mm-hmm.
and how Coca-Cola dominates the sugar industry. They're like the number one buyer of sugar across the globe.
Mhm.
It's kind of insane to the point where like this documentary goes into what most of us don't understand is like the Coca-Cola Corporation has a much larger conglomerate that owns it, which also owns all of the sugar fields in all of these places and also owns all of like the coffee
Mm-hmm.
that comes from tea or something. So I think the caffeine that they get from Coke comes from the decaffeinated tea because
wow.
when they decaffeinate tea, the actual the caffeine extract still remains. So they buy this shit and they put it into Coke. And like Coke itself doesn't actually have real sugar in it anymore. Like it's this insane documentary. Like I forget the name of it, but it breaks down to the point where you're terrified of the shit that's in there because almost none of it comes from an organic source anymore.
Really?
Yeah, like they
Start his lab.
take sugar and they will just refine it and extract everything from it, and then they'll sell the rest of it to everybody else for like actual sugar cane and blah blah. But like what's in there is just shit.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently there's like copyrights and patents and things that they own in relationship to coffee and sugar, and so like you can't even mess with it.
Wow.
It's whenever I see something like that, it almost always takes me back to the same thing. There is no good in this goddamn world. I'm sorry, man. Like,
no,
it takes
dude,
a Coke.
Yeah.
It's filled with so much chemicals and shit that it's no longer
man.
pure sugar because they want to control the sugar trade throughout the world.
Exactly.
You're just like, going like, what the fuck?
Exactly, man.
And then there's like, they also buy, and I could be wrong about this part, but like I heard that they buy pure cocaine leaves, purified into pure cocaine. There's an extract they take from that still goes into Coca-Cola, which has nothing to do with like the cocaine derivative that gets you fucked up.
Right.
But that liquid cocaine is like a whole side business that they sell to hospitals and stuff because that's actually used. Liquid cocaine is actually used in a hospital setting because, and a friend of mine told me this, he was a nurse practitioner in the ER. He said, it'll numb you quicker than anything else that we have.
Really?
Liquid cocaine will literally, like somebody comes in with a gunshot wound, just like excruciating pain, like a dab of that shit will just completely numb them out until medication can intravenously go through.
Yeah. Wow.
I don't know how much of this is true. I'm basing it off of somebody else's, hearsay. Yeah. But
they would know more than I do. Who knows?
If you look at any major, humongous corporation, the sheer amount of smaller businesses that they own that you've never heard of that just take all the byproduct of what they do and resell it to others is insane. Like, did you know McDonald's buys the largest supply of lettuce, tomato, chickens, eggs, and beef in the world?
Really?
McDonald's.
All of that?
All of that.
Jesus.
And it's only a specific type of tomato, a specific type of potato that they buy. And all of this stuff is all controlled by them. Like, the price is always controlled by them because the sheer quantity that they buy is so big that they control and dominate the market.
Have you ever thought about, like, how much of stuff we have here? Like, do you know how many McDonald's there are? Like, in Dallas alone, right? And even then, they have hundreds of thousands of potatoes. Now, there's a lot more cities in Texas. Yeah. And it's like, there's McDonald's everywhere. Like, that's so many potatoes. Like, I don't know. It's crazy to think about how many of everything we have. You know what I mean?
So McDonald's thought about that, too. So they started buying up farmland. So they own a bunch of these, like these humongous industrial farming systems, exactly for this reason. So nobody ever asks the question of like, how the hell do we supply all this? They're like, no, we got you covered.
It's crazy.
Don't worry about it. Keep opening McDonald's. We'll take care of the rest.
Oh my gosh, that's just so much.
And I mean, they own so much of it. They end up selling a ton of it to other fast food joints and other restaurants. Like, it's a complete side business of McDonald's. Besides them being the biggest real estate owner in the world, which most people don't know, is that all of the properties that a McDonald's franchise sits on, the McDonald's Corporation owns the land. You as a franchisee are leasing it from them. The land is owned. And if you look at a McDonald's, where are they always located? The best and busiest spots. Right by a freeway entrance exit. Right by a busy school. Right by
I never thought
a
about
library,
that.
a park. Like, they're always on street corners. They're always on the busiest intersections. So they have the most valuable land.
It's crazy, man.
It's nuts, right? If you think about it, who thinks McDonald's is a bigger real estate company than it is a burger joint?
Oh, dang.
No shit, right?
Wow. I didn't even put that together. Dang, dude. And it's already such a powerhouse of a burger joint, if not the powerhouse.
I think the McDonald's is the number one. Like, if you think of a hamburger, McDonald's everywhere in the world, everywhere they exist.
It's crazy, man.
Good luck with Whataburgers, mainly Texas, kind of, because they don't have them in the West or the East Coast. I've never seen it. In-N-Out is very slowly branching out. You got Burger King everywhere, but nobody likes Burger King, to be honest.
Yeah, no.
And their issue is their fries suck.
Their fries are terrible.
Their fries is the worst
Burger
goddamn
King, what's
fries
going
in the
on,
world,
bro?
dude. Like, if they had better fries, the Whopper's a decent burger.
Oh, yeah.
I like it more than I like a Big Mac. I don't know. Just my opinion.
Their chicken fries are good, too.
Yes.
Yeah. Y'all got
Barbecue
potential,
sauce.
Burger King. Come on, man.
Do like a facelift like Domino's did like 5 years ago or 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Now Domino's is pretty decent food.
With them garlic bread and the garlic crust and stuff.
I don't know, man.
I got you, though.
I feel like we're just ranting about different fast food joints, but it all comes back to the whole idea of things are so big and there's so many moving parts to it that you really don't know until you explore it.
Mm-hmm.
But comedy is just not that.
Right.
Comedy is very specific. There are no big moving parts. There isn't some multinational that owns all the comedy clubs. It's all owned by individual owners.
Right.
There's no such thing as, that one ivory tower of an ad agency or a management company for stand-up comedians. No, there's a bunch of them.
That's what I was trying to fuse my degree with comedy. I was trying to see if the improv, if they had like a corporate thing, maybe I can do marketing for them, or like if I can tie that together somehow. But exactly like you said, it's all just individual.
I think the best marketing idea that I can think of for someone like you, because you're exposed to so many of your friends that are comedians, start doing their social media stuff. If you can grow their audiences and things like that, that is the business right now.
See, I want to build their websites. I think that would be like, give me your tour dates, give me some pictures, blah, blah, blah. Like, I think that'd be cool.
The problem is they can't afford you.
So it's a lot more than
you know it more than most, because 10 months into it, nobody's paying you to get up on that stage yet. And if they are, it's not much.
Oh, yeah, man.
But I mean, you do get exposure to some of like the more seasoned people while you're there. So maybe like start doing it for a couple of buddies for free, and then have a portfolio show to someone that has like a Ryan Joseph that has 20, 30,000 followers that'll be able to possibly pay you for that type of a service.
It's true.
And then that can spring load you. Because like it's the whole thing of, you got to crawl before you walk, before you run.
Right, exactly.
All of us have to do it. 30 people may see this, but God knows what happens in 2 years.
Yeah, exactly, man. We were talking about that whole journey, you know what I mean? And like, shit, this podcast could be like part of the journey for other comics, you know what I mean? It's like, you're going to watch them on the come up, and you're going to see that they were on this podcast before they stood up. And so it's like,
I hope that's the plan, is like, hey, dude, come on here, because, nobody knows me, nobody knows you yet. Let's have some fun together and kind of like get you comfortable with the next one.
Exactly.
Get you more comfortable with like a bigger name that you might be, wanting to be on, but you'll be calm and relaxed because you're like, oh, I know what a sound check looks like. I know that cameras sometimes can be finicky and like, whatever, just chill. This is what it's supposed to be.
Yeah, this is cool, honestly, man. This is like my first one-on-one podcast. I was nervous, but
I think you did super, super well.
Cool.
Yeah, seriously.
Cool.
But on that note, I think I had an absolute blast talking to you. I don't think I had an absolute blast talking to you. We didn't touch upon much about your life. I know there's a lot more that we can get into on a future podcast.
Yeah.
And I'm super excited to see what you like. I think there's like a crew of you guys that are really exciting in Dallas, because you guys are just in it like a year, a little less, and super excited to see what's going to happen. Like, I can't wait for a year from now to kind of have a sit down with you and be like, so what's up? What you been up to, man?
Yeah, seriously. No, and big thank you for having me. Seriously, this was really cool.
It was a pleasure. Yeah, dude.
And same with you, man. I can't wait to see the growth on this thing, and just eventually we're going to see the pictures on the wall and all that fun stuff. But I'm excited, man. This is really cool.
So if you've got anything you want to talk about that, like, people see you, or is there a stage or something that you've got set up in a couple of weeks? If not, at least give me your IG stuff so people know where to find you.
Okay. Yeah, no. No shows coming up yet, but if you're out there and you want me on a show, please. I'm open to work for anything and for free. My Instagram is NathanRivas07. Give me a follow. Give me a watch. It's real fun stuff. I'm excited to see where this all goes, man. I'm all for it. I love it.
So Nathan Rivas 7 on Instagram. Really funny guy. He's in the Dallas area, working Hyenas, working Addison, Dallas Comedy Club, whatever open mics are going on. So
whatever mics, whatever shows will have me.
Catch him, and when he does the list joke and you find the funny that I found, leave a comment so he knows.
Hell yeah.
But
thank you guys for listening.
Yeah. Nathan, thank you again. Everybody, thank you for listening. This was an awesome conversation. Hope to do it again.
Awesome. Me too, man.
Thank you.